Hello, everybody. Welcome back in. Goodness me, an extended break there, of course. I mean, if you've had us open the entire time, thanks very much, for sure, to say the least. But we are continuing on with this North America side of the Americas qualifier here for IESF. America themselves, the United States, maybe locking things in, it looks like, over on that Group A side of things. And indeed looking very, very good here this evening. We now move into the Group B side more than anything here now.
Yeah, and we're looking at this now and to see maybe where this one's going to head. I mean, at the moment, it looks very heavy on Costa Rica and Canada, who had a pretty decent start to yesterday. They looked very good on a more sort of individual basis. Maybe the hope is that we kind of see a little bit more out of those two in towards their respective games. But we also want to check in with the likes of what Ecuador looking like, what Guatemala looking like too. Regions that I'm not 100% sure maybe what they're like, right? What kind of talent they've got coming from that region, because they're not sort of one of the more notable names in a sense. Of course, we checked in Guatemala yesterday, and without Malbs, it's always tough not having your star player there.
Sure.
Those make things a little tougher all in all. But yeah, we're checking in towards our game here. We've got Guatemala taking on Ecuador, both picking up losses yesterday. Guatemala, I think we can take with maybe a little bit of a pinch of salt in the sense, Canada are a tough team. They're probably the favorites in this group. And expectations are probably quite high for them. However, in towards this side of thing, we've got the likes of, an Ecuador side who similarly had a closer game, but still ended up picking a 2-0 loss to Costa Rica. So I think this is a big one. I think winner of this gives themselves a chance, is the main point, right, of potentially getting one of those spots in towards the playoffs. But, in any shape or form, you pick up a loss, it makes life very, very difficult. You pick up 2 losses, you're guaranteed you're not making it through.
Yeah, for sure. So it is going to be kind of a tell-all game here, ultimately coming in. We do have this third round of group matches to get through as well, and then it'll move into the playoff stages. So going to be a little bit of an interesting one here for these two teams. Again, two of our maybe weaker squads in the Group B side of things, at least that's the way that it looks at this point. It is kind of that question of where it goes to here. Guatemala coming through, roster still, including our boy Malbs, trying to manifest it pretty hard here, I suppose, but ultimately not going to be available. So for me, we had Timan come in yesterday.
Yes. Whether
he will be in there, they do have another substitute listed here, so it may well be him. But Stage, Mittis, Anti, and Rainmaker were indeed in the equation. And there were some names in here that looked okay for me. I want to say that Stage and Anti with quite a lot of sort of entry moments gave Guatemala some of their rounds that they managed to pick up against Canada, but ultimately it was just a bridge too far for them, really. Yeah. So we'll see if those same sorts of names can come alive here.
Yes, exactly that. I mean, yeah, just to clarify, Malbs, the top end of that Guatemala side, will not be playing under no circumstances. He is not present. He has blast groups in 3 days, I think now, as a kind of the date taken over. He's over in Europe. He would be on like 180 ping, if not more. Malbs is 100% not playing. I can tell you that one for free. Bless him. If he was still on M80, I'm sure he probably would actually play, but not in this. This is Ecuador on the other side. A cool team which I haven't really checked in with, and a region again who we're not 100% sure of what the kind of the talent level is like over there, right? I mean, Ecuador as a region don't have a huge amount of players who I think play at that kind of top level in South American Counter-Strike. So it'd be cool to see sort of what these guys have got to bring to the table. We've got Widow, Alexo, Picario, Gore, and Spect as well coming in towards this. And yeah, in general, Ecuador as a region, we don't see a hell of a lot of Counter-Strike players from there. The one who has played a little bit in the past is that of Widow. Had a small stint playing on a variety of teams back in the Go era. Basically, he was at least relatively prevalent around then. Then it looked like he retired and has now sort of come back into the fray a little bit as well, at least recently. Apparently playing on a team called Skullcracker, which is pretty cool. But yeah, again, we don't know a huge amount of kind of what they get up to. He's actually, as well, just to know, he's the only Ecuadorian player who's ever had a Wikipedia page, which, you know, is pretty sick. He is, I guess, sort of one of the slightly bigger names from the Ecuadorian scene.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It definitely does look that way. Him and Gore were looking pretty good yesterday as well in their game, although it was that loss to Costa Rica. Still looked like a decent kind of squad of individuals, of players. So, again, maybe we can tap into that. We're going to find out here, right? This is one of those games where it's like they both lost 0-2. One was pretty handy on that Guatemalan side of things against Canada, but Canada come in as kind of our second favorite here, definitely the favorite of the group. So it's a question of, you know, is there a severe drop-off, or will one of these teams be able to make things, you know, that 2-1 victory? We'll see. Matt Vito coming underway, of course, the Inferno out in the Mirage as well, and the Ancient to close things. So I would say a pretty conventional Vito.
Sure.
All things considered, Ecuador coming through with that Inferno. It actually wasn't in the series yesterday against Costa Rica. Meanwhile, the Mirage was indeed the pick for Guatemala against Canada. So certainly seems to be a favorite map for them. They also had Inferno in that series. It wasn't required, but that speaks to their comfortability on the map at the end of the day.
Yes, no, exactly that. Yeah, and I mean, we're looking at this as well. I would probably say it's the puggiest map pool possible, right? It's just, you know, if ever there was a map or a map pool which was going to really highlight the strengths of a T side and all the rest, this would be it. So yeah, excited to see what this can kind of bring to the table. It's, yeah, because it's quite, you know, as you mentioned, conventional. I like that kind of that way of wording it. Simple in terms of how these maps are generally approached. That could actually bring out, you know, the highlights of the individuals over anything, right? And really get to see maybe something quite special out of a few who can really bring something to the table. Like you said yesterday, we had a couple of moments out from Guatemala where they had a few individuals who looked pretty clean. Like you said, Stage for me was really impressive. He was somebody who was good on both the rifle, the AWP, pistols as well. So I think having somebody like him is probably where Guatemala are going to lean upon. Yeah, it's a tough game. I think, you know, this is a big thing for survival, I think, ultimately, right? Lose this and it's safe to say you're out, right? I mean, there's no two ways about it. Only the top two make it out of the groups of a group of four. And in a, you know, 3-match round robin, there is only ever going to be, you know, two teams to make it out. And of course, if you go 0-2, that is unfortunately your qualification run done here. With Costa Rica, of course, they're going to be playing off against Canada. That is actually a pretty spicy game, so we'll definitely keep tabs on that one. And it might even cement the idea similar to what we saw with the United States, where the United States coming in as the favorites in towards Group A, Canada coming in as the favorites in towards Group B, and picking up wins for both of them. You know, the United States have already done it today. Canada could do it over there as well, and that might really lock things into place for those guys going in as those sort of #1 seeds heading into those playoffs, which ultimately sets up for a pretty cool derby, if that is to be the case. If they are the favorites and they play like favorites, could meet in the grand final. And of course, with both of them being locked into those spots, it's then just for bragging rights and the rest.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the thing is as well, it depends. It may well, you know, be that kind of seeding and everything. Like we say, we're not entirely sure. One would assume that it's kind of, you know, top of Group A plays second in Group B, and then vice versa. That's generally speaking how it goes down.
Yeah.
And that would kind of make the most sense. So we'll see whether that's the case. We're sort of banking on this United States Canada grand final. Feels like what's going to make the most sense, but is there a team in there that can pull off the upset here? Obviously, moving into this matchup, we're going to get a bit of an idea of whether one of these teams can survive through, but it is, again, maybe the Canada-Costa Rica game that we'll be keeping our eyes on, because if that one goes super close or maybe goes in favor of Costa Rica even, then that kind of blows the door open on this group, because again, Canada do come in as a roster, but I think you were saying yesterday a bit more of an advanced team at the moment.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's not like they play decent for sure, And indeed, I'm sure Costa Rica, we would recognize some of the players if they were in advance, but not the case. Either way, our game getting started here. What a flash over the top. Widow up on the kill feed. Sure, it is Picario who will manage to find the kills, but they were easy. Come on now. Absolutely set up for him. Mitzes will go unchecked, but cannot land it. Low HP. Panics ever so slightly there under the pressure. Super clean stuff. Ecuador really making their mark, not losing a single player there.
Yeah, that's good. They look, yeah, I mean, pretty comfortable in that one, right? I think exactly sort of what you want to see. Set the tone nice and early and towards the series. On your own map pick, too, is exactly what you want. Ecuador, nice pistol, right? Nobody dying. A nice little 3K as well for Picario. And I think now we can come in towards this with a really healthy buy. And something, unfortunately, which Guatemala can't respond in kind. They've got one HE, one flashbang. Wonder where they're going to use the HEs. Holy has been used deep in towards mid. And in all fairness, does a pretty healthy chunk on towards 3.
Yeah, to be fair. Oh, and the flash goes in. A little bit awkward. Okay. Guatemala laying down the law then with the USPs. They managed to find 2. They've really thrown this round out of whack. Ecuador going to try and fairly quickly head towards B. There is that conventional split now coming in from Guatemala, but if Ecuador play things correctly here, they've still got that stronger weaponry, plenty of utility going on these 3 players. So there is a world in which, you know, you kind of fake things out, draw some attention, but we'll see here.
All right, let's go quiet. You can see Ecuador probably feeling the pressure a little bit. New box molly being set. Come through. Try and force out a fight here. There's a double stack in dark. Now, the first one is basically a bit of a bait here. Even if he falls, the second dark player that'll stage just doesn't have to move. However, they are going back over towards a 3 here to meet them. This is a little bit precarious, I think it's safe to say, for Ecuador. They could be in for a bit of trouble.
Oh, Alexo. Get tagged up. However, looking relatively good here. Team kill comes in from the side.
Oh.
Alexo trying to do it all, but Rainmaker goes overlooked. I didn't even notice. I think they must have been double stacked up and a clean headshot to finish it off. Guatemala on the board here. You can see they're pretty excitable about that. But yeah, the double stack on Cold Box, I think, really changed the roundup. Ecuador will be kicking themselves. USPs. It's rough. It's a difficult 1-2 stomach. You can see what it does as well. Destroys their econ. Really boosts that of Guatemala here. So a keen look. We'll see what they can do in this follow-up.
No, absolutely. Really, really nice round from Guatemala. I think Ecuador just played that a little bit too loose for me. They allow Guatemala to isolate fights. A nice setup there. You got one playing top cold 0 box, the other playing on the lower end, and ends up working well for me. Just don't clear that second guy. Why would you, right? You just want to expect it more often than not. All right. Tight square, but of course, it is that force in for Ecuador in response. And that round as well doesn't even count, you know, my force buy CT list, whatever. That doesn't even count. They didn't buy it. They bought a nade and a flashbang. No upgraded pistols. Crazy round to take as Rainmaker going to get a double looking for the third. But he meets the business end of a deagle. Oh, hello.
Getting a bit all over the place, isn't it? It feels like. Stage. Oh, going to go overlooked. Nearly the double kill for him, but not quite. Spect then to do it all here. Should easily get the bomb plant. Only on this Mac 10, however, so you don't expect big things from him. And will he expect 2 in at Banana on top of each other? I'm not so sure. He's taking a cheeky play here inside the smoke. It will start to dissipate now, so he's got to be careful, got to be aware of that fact. Trying to use it to his advantage. Not going to happen. No head armor, of course. Makes for an easy frag. 10-second defuse, because why not? But Guatemala, they stomach that round. It is indeed costly. The 2 in the row, though, is a pretty big deal here for the CT side.
Yeah, nice work. I mean, the only small thing if you're going to be kind of picky is just allowing that bomb to go down. That's sort of a round. But all in all, you win a round, you take a lead. I don't think you can be too annoyed in any sort of a fashion. So that's 2-1. We do get a little bit of an investment out, but not enough to force buy in here for Ecuador. So we're just bringing in, a few upgraded pistols, just one nade to try and hopefully soften up a few. But again, this is a round that should be relatively comfortably taken in favor of the CT side. Rainmaker sticking around for the fight is very risky, but he doesn't get traded because his teammates don't stick around. So Lexo falls for nothing.
Yeah, a little oversight for sure. Good signs for Guatemala. This deep mid-smoke is catching on at the top level of the game. And it can often be something that gets a little bit missed. They might just have been doing their homework. They're going to keep it coming as well to lay control down of this middle area. 5-on-2 as the kill comes in through the smoke. The AWP covering, looking very good hit. Anti with a clean frag. Just going to be down to Gore. He's got that bomb and, he's been waiting here a while for something to happen. It does, but it's a bullet to finish him off. 3-1. Guatemala's starting to pick up steam now.
Good. Good work from Guatemala. I mean, really, really seeing something, quite clean out from this side. They had not many chances to shine in yesterday's matchup. Once again, just reiterating sort of how strong this kind of Canadian side are. And I think for Guatemala now, I'm liking what I'm seeing. Playing good Counter-Strike, but of course, this is in non-full gun rounds. I think this is going to be a real litmus test for maybe how things are going to look for them. Pop flash in. It's the AWP here around the corner. This is good. At stage, there he is. This is a guy who was pretty good yesterday and finding another good moment here. And Rainmaker going to get away with one before he's traded.
Aggressive start, explosive start coming in, but Guatemala able to stomach it. Some nice finds. Not enough to solidify the round, though. Ecuador have some control in the apartments, but they are looking to just try and get a return frag, even up the numbers. Don't want to give their position away ultimately. Now, Guatemala have kind of turtled in, which maybe we're not the biggest fan of, right? You maybe want to spread yourselves out a bit more than this when you are up a man. But we'll see how it goes. Noise being made in Banana. Alexo trying to draw attention. Not really going to work with where Timon is at on the setup. He's got the smoke. He's not scared over here. He's not even dropping the smoke early.
Just waiting for a bit of a push to come through. Best way to go about this as well now for Guatemala, if they can, is really try and slow Ecuador down. That Molotov is a prime example of exactly how to do that. It's going to give them not a lot of time, and the flash behind it too, to really try and keep them at bay. Or making a move. He's going to come through. That could do a lot of damage, but nice find. Mitis will fall. Still, player towards new box, which does also get cleared, and same with a long player. Stage will fall, thrusting a 1v2 on the shoulders of Timon. Can't deny the bomb. May be able to cut off rotations. Gotta know there's a player on towards sight, as he did get the bomb down, but Alexio will be able to swing and seat him off. Ecuador going to find a second. Made to work with it. Left a little late, but in the end, it is going to be Ecuador putting up that second on the board, which is the only real thing that they need.
As I said, man, you may be giving a bit too much space across, a bit too much respect. And they're able to work with that, right? Your strong game comes from the fact that you have the advantage, comes from the fact that you can afford to maybe take a bit of a risk and separate the defense, strengthen the defense across the map. So Guatemala, it's a small thing, certainly difficult to notice, but it does end up costing them. Mitis to open here. This is not what Ecuador wants to happen, right? A big turnaround in the previous round to make it work. And then they're going to fall flat in this one. It's a dangerous, dangerous look for a T side if they just can't fully get themselves in and figure out where the wins are coming from. Bomb will be retrieved. That's about the only positive they get from that exchange.
Boost up on towards Plant Pot. Just going to leave. You couldn't even just leave one here in all fairness. Timon Given the right util, he can slow them down massively, but Rainmaker gonna fall. And he's still not cleared. With him being in towards apartment itself, it's a tough angle to clear late into a round. 45 seconds to work with. Decision got to be made soon, though, for Ecuador, where we're going to try and finish here. Smoke fade, stage for 1. Does get traded.
Yeah, for now. Still looking slightly doable here for Ecuador, what with Ante being alone. Oh, and they're clearing the apartments as well. This is smart. Really is. Oh, he's been spotted. He's going to give it a bit of a check. Down he goes. However, the AWP was ready. 2v2 and full loss of the A bomb site.
Now, a long rotation coming through here for these two. Sticking together is the right way to play it, though, but a tough old retake in this post plant. Running towards Grave, and the AWP take a pop shot towards Long. Shooting at Ghost. Nobody's there. Timing play. Timan's waiting for the apartments player to make that first move, and then he can start to pounce himself. As they know there's an AWP, they don't want to go too early. Grave player spotted. Nice reaction. Alexo gets caught. Now, AWP on the corner. Doesn't want to get baited into shots. They know it's the AWP as well, and a missed shot will cost them that one. So, Guatemala, again, good retake coming through. They know it's an AWP in that last fight. So they know they don't need to be too quick about it. It's all about baiting out the fights, and that's what they do.
Looking comfortable on the retake there is certainly a good sign for these teams that we have less information on. Teams that seem to be taking a while to ramp up. But yeah, Guatemala, and it does feel like there's a little bit of a level here, doesn't there? Considering a few rounds that we saw against Canada yesterday, and probably a lot to learn from that series is certainly something to consider. I do feel that this squad are proving themselves capable quite quickly. Going to be a half buyout from Ecuador to try and facilitate a bomb plant. Get that cashola working into the next round. But for this one, not expecting too much. Not really showing themselves all that much either. So Guatemala going to be a bit ready. Taps coming through the smoke do minimal damage. It's Timon who peeks out. He knows what's up. However, he's lost his teammate pretty quickly. Keen reload, but it ain't fast enough. This could get interesting then. Bomb going to go down. Rainmaker. Oh, crisp to save it. Alexo's picked up an M4, but this would be a hell of a thing if he could pull it off.
Boss man, just trying to play some time here, but he gets met with a grenade, tags him to half, and he will be seen off by Rainmaker. What a round out from him. 3 kills on that retake is really nicely done from Rainmaker. On an individual standpoint, he's looked very confident in these early engagements. 12 and 4 he finds himself. The 3KD is definitely not something to turn your nose up at all. A really, really nice display. And I think for Ecuador, he's probably going to be priority number 1 of who you try and isolate or try and target in these early rounds to make him feel a little uncomfortable. Because, yeah, I mean, what we've seen so far, Guatemala basing a lot of their CT sides off the back of him, and he's getting really, really active. Yeah, good work. I mean, we also saw yesterday Ante had a couple of real nice moments and hasn't actually had too many to come alive yet. So I'm sure when he gets going, it could make this one even tougher. But Ante will fall early once again.
Quickly up towards A then. A lot of noise being made, so they will be aware of what is going down here. Oh, this could be difficult to predict, right? 2 in at the long hauls. The AWP getting active. Oh, that's a hell of a shot. Volley comes in. That's unfortunate. Could have been a great position here for Rainmaker, but he's still indeed going to make it work. Cancelled the bomb plant to take him down. 2 versus 2, but it's bought time for these Guatemalan rotations. There's no smoke at Moto. It is a CT's dream to get this retake rolling here. Damage done and finished on to Spect. Alexo to do it all. Bomb inside the site is not really ideal for him. Jumps the gun a bit early and holds mouse 1. Prays for that spray to work. Down to just misses now. No idea where Alexo is at. Wild fight through the smoke here. USP going to be out. is not ideal. Alexo playing it to perfection. The AK serves him well. And Ecuador will win out the 1v2.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for Ecuador as well, in that situation, it's all about just time management. You know, the clock is the biggest enemy to Guatemala there, and playing around those smokes perfectly, just not going to be able to find a way back in. So, really nicely done. And it will mean a 2-round game on the cards. A bit of a competition here between these two, in all fairness. He's seeing some moments of some flashes of brilliance art from Ecuador. Exo looking good on an individual basis for him. 10-5. Too bad. Too bad at all. Oh, nice shot from Gore. Stage going to get caught early. That's the AWP dropped very quickly.
Oh, Rainmaker, got to be careful. He's a pretty big danger man here. Thimon comes in with that AWP, and we'll take one back. Numbers evened up, but control for Ecuador looks pretty good. It is hidden away. Surely gets checked. Surely. All around the corner, trying to distract away. Widow does well to just dedicate into his angle. That'll win them the round. That kind of trust in his teammate to watch his back.
Bomb goes down this round. I think it's the safe call, just the keep hold of what we've got. At least they've recovered the orb that was dropped early in towards this round, but definitely no point. No point giving this one a go at all. And they will just save here. I mean, it looks like there's a little look in for a hunt, at the very least. Alexo seems tempted by the idea. Wherever he goes, he's probably going to get caught, and he will. Timan makes sure that AWP rattles off for a kill. Hunt doesn't get too active. In all fairness, Anti, though, still looks like he might get tested. And they actually gets an AK upgrade on a silver platter, which he'll take every day of the week. 2 saves come through from Guatemala. It's a small silver lining, but it still is Ecuador who make this a 1-round game. 2 back-to-back on this T side. Ain't bad. Ain't bad at all. I think for Guatemala, who had the hot streak and looked good out of the gates, this is a decent recovery coming through from Ecuador, where at the very least we're seeing them put up some stability on towards this T side. They get up to minimum 5 themselves, they can be pretty happy.
Oh, the flashes pretty good here. Back 10 looking to mow them down. Just got to be careful. Is that AWP in play here? But the AK dropped importantly, right? That's Ranger Man taken down, you would expect. Timon makes himself known. They're still going to go in for this one. They now know where he is at. Rotation coming round. Can't really happen fast enough. Surely not going to check tree here. Indeed, caught with nade in hand. So it is just going to be that AWP. They should be able to play around this one. But again, can be a bit scary. In these 1vx situations, you never know when he's going to peek in. Only got the 1 bullet to work with at the moment, though, so not going to be a clean finish here. He's smoked off, trying to spam away. It goes down. P250 is out. It is close, but Becario takes it over the line. Goodness me, a very wild few rounds here. Ecuador winning them out and closing the gap.
Yeah, it's been scrappy, I think, is probably the best way to sort of describe how this game's been feeling so far, but, I mean, still, Ecuador have done what I've asked of them. Get that bare minimum of 5. Might even be able in for the chance for, at the very least, 1 more. Money's a little tight over towards Guatemala. This buy, not exactly beautiful. We got MP9, triple FAMAS, and M4. Not the easiest buy to try to work with it. Stage taking a hell of a lot of damage to Util. Down to 20 to kickstart this one is not great. Double nade setup, which is going to tag down Widow hella low. Will still get away with a kill, nonetheless.
What is going on? There's so much damage here. Anti in the apartments has had a bit of a problem over there, and indeed, maybe now knowing when to pull the plug. But Stage is still in pretty deep, which is just kind of wild. I think they're acutely aware, but not fully aware of where he's gotten off to. So he's going to slow them down for a while. If he plays this correctly, it doesn't really matter if he dies. He's just going to buy so much time for his team. Does come round. There he is, revealing himself. Surely got to get traded here, but it's such a weird angle. You know, who's around in a trading position for what we call Costa Coffee? I'm not sure what you guys call that one, just because, you know, there was always the little coffee on the hob.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's still there in 2, to be honest, because I don't often spend time in this area of the map.
20 seconds. Ecuador don't have a lot of time here. They're going to go towards A. One man they're going to clear. Anti. Do they check in towards back? It's a pretty common angle to check. 10 seconds, though, fellas. Not giving ourselves a lot of time. Bomb drop. The second man behind him is going to fall. There's no time to plant. That's it. Round 1 off the back of Anti's antics. Is good. And the just to make matters worse as well, the orb goes down and scooped up to really just the absolute sort of cherry on top. Nice work at the end there by Anti, making sure that that is just a really unfortunate way to end that round. And of course now coming towards what is the final with basically little to no money.
Yeah, kind of crazy, man. Kind of crazy. I don't know. Ecuador. They did really well in the middle of the half to pull it back, but the T side has not quite been sunshine and roses here. Aggressive move comes down. Rainmaker, it's only 1 for him, but he creates a bit of space. And again, going to be pushing Ecuador back. A lot of ground for them to make up here.
Ooh, close. No cigar. Expect making a little move, but in this 3v4, it's tough. The Tech 9 gotta hope for a missed shot. And hey, you're gonna get that at the very least. And an AWP scooped up too. Might be a chance here. The M4 trying to get proactive, and Anti overextends, gets caught. What is happening? How are we in for the chance here? How is this potentially on for Ecuador? There's a 5v3.
Oh no. He just goes walking straight in. Yeah, no idea. I mean, that is a huge blunder from Guatemala, man. You can see they start so strong there now, and the numbers look decent for a couple of the players, but I don't know what happened in the middle of the half. A couple of rounds just slipping away and a couple clutch situations, but that is kind of an egregious one. So
yeah,
Guatemala certainly had the upper hand, looking like the stronger team, but Ecuador have managed to pull it back. This is their pick as well. You now flip over. It's going to be a real challenge to get this going. If you cannot get the pistol, Guatemala backing themselves into a bit of a corner.
All right. What we got? I think for Guatemala, they had their periods. Ecuador too, but both sides have mistakes that have kind of creeped in and made life a little tough at times. Just around here to kickstart could be massive. Very slow from Guatemala, though. Not even really committing to either A or B. You got one player tucked in towards Cubby, one playing far back. I mean, a lot of respect being shown by Guatemala here. And for what, for the most part, doesn't really feel like for any reason, in a sense, because Ecuador aren't really doing anything to make themselves a threat at the moment.
Yeah, quiet round. Very quiet round here, which wasn't necessarily expecting, but Guatemala clearly have got something planned for this pistol. In they'll all go. That's all 5. That's surely got to be enough clompage, you know, to call the rotations, even though they haven't seen them. Still completely caught off on the site itself. A little on top of each other at the moment, but it doesn't matter all that much. Guatemala keep the heads rolling. Just down to 2 here, who are indeed the B players. Picario going to have been spotted out here as well. Looking very good. 3 more to go. Surely not going to happen here for Picario. We know where he's at. There is a kit available, but that time is getting away from him. Making so much noise, closing the gap. There's a couple players that are just not revealing themselves at all. And he was absolutely a dead man, even if he hit the shots from the front. That man from behind certainly had him. It will be Guatemala's pistol.
Yeah, Guatemala do well there. You know, they're pretty slow at the gates because they're just trying to test the waters and see what Ecuador are actually doing in terms of their setup. And Ecuador don't really do a lot. That's what I was going to say earlier. It didn't really feel like they were that threatening. Ecuador weren't seeing any utility. Not a lot of presence or even fights really being taken. But in the end, it's Guatemala just barreling towards the A site. Nice and simply. Take themselves up on plant and give no chance for Ecuador in that one. A couple of consolation kills is basically all they're walking away with. All right, 7-6. We don't have a force buy out here for Ecuador, so should be a pretty simple 8th. We said this last time, though, and Guatemala did make something out of it, so I'm not going to completely count it out.
Once again, Guatemala, though, playing a little bit slower here. I think they have done some work. They may well have made some mistakes in that first half, but this T-side could be interesting if this continues. Basic nadage going in. Flash over the top. Long range angle. Picario trying to draw them in. This double stack behind the fountain. I'm a big fan. You can see Mitters is like, something is going on here. You know, this seems a little too quiet. And indeed, he reveals himself and immediately gets dropped without finding a frag. Could be a big deal.
10. Looking to see if he can catch anybody in rotation, but not to be. Max is going to boost up as well, but going to figure out sooner rather than later. It's a pretty vulnerable site here, and Rainmaker going to get to a mini setup into his apartments. Kind of unorthodox. I quite like it. Doesn't end up working out for them, though. Mac10 spots 1. The Galil will get probably 2 here at the very least. Make that 3. Tapping away to confirm it. Timman will make sure that it's only the 1 consolation kill. Not bad. Not bad at all. 8-6. Guatemala take a slim lead to start things off here. But of course, now we're going to have a buy coming through in for them, which is good. On the Ecuador side, that is, we get to see what their CT side setups look like. And for the most part, when we've seen a little bit more of these sort of sides who are of a bit of a mixier nature, I think is probably the way to put it, compared to the teams like Crew of Argentina, Perseverance of the United States, for example, right? What we've seen of the teams a little bit mixy is that the CT side is always the inherent weakness. The T sides are pretty good because they can play quite puggy, like it is, you know, an MM or a face-it game or whatever. The CT side is where the gaps open up, and we need to see now for Ecuador, is this the case, or have we just been waiting for the guns?
All right. Up top, Gore. Expecting big things. Him and Alexo in a pretty good spot here. It looks nice. Burst forward. Does result in some trades. Meanwhile, it's all on the lurk. And Rainmaker, indeed, will allow the bomb to go down here. 3 versus 2 rotators coming in. You don't fancy their chances, man. No kit. And indeed, they don't fancy it either. Save coming round. That was a little tentative, but Guatemala trusting in the process, and it pays off.
3 staying alive as well for Ecuador. I don't really think it's worthwhile in this sense. Normally, in these kind of 3v3 situations, you could, you know, potentially take a gamble at it and see if you can do something, but I don't think it's worth it because you have 3 staying alive. You can sort of buy right back into it and sort of make it work. I mean, 2 is still workable in terms of their reinvestment as well, and I think that's probably maybe the thought process here, but Ecuador are maybe leaving things a little bit more up to chance, though. It's tough. You know, 3 staying alive always gives you the funds. 2, it gives you a hard choice of, do we actually want to force buy into this? And it looks like they are going to go for it. 3 rifles and probably 2 MP9s. Maybe a FAMAS if Gore really wants it is feasible to some degree, but yeah, that's what we got. We got the double FAMAS coming through. So it's actually a workable investment all in all for Ecuador. But then you lose this, Guatemala find 10, then probably 11 as well. And already things become pretty dire.
Yeah, not a fantastic picture you are painting, sir. We'll see. Deep mid-smoke. It is ever popular. Thurman ready and waiting on the other side here. Lexo inside of the smoke is a risky move. And he looks away from the danger zone as the smoke goes down. It costs him his life. Widow comes round, does get one. The spam is good. Trade's going down, but Widow's really kept them in this one. Brave to go for another swing as well. The flash comes in. Nobody there. Meanwhile, out towards middle, Anti with the fadeaway. What is going on? Fights all over the place. 2 versus 2. And they're split, so they have to kind of give up their positions here.
Spect. Going to try and hold out range, but Anti going to be given space here on towards the side. Oh, we're moving forward. And when you slow walk out like that, your shoulder betrays you, and that's what happens. Last man. Spect going to go through the Molotov. Now they know where he is. Bomb going to go down. There's no denying. And Rainmaker. Nice reaction. Nice find. Spect falls. And Guatemala are going to pull further and further away. And Ecuador, I mean, again, we can go for a buy here, but it's going to be still in a similar vein towards last round, where it's a little bit of an uncomfortable one in some degree. And we've got 2 rifles picked up. An MP9, a Deagle. So 3 rifles in total. Limited utility. Half armor, which normally wouldn't be that big of a difference, but Anti's still got a M4 for him. Does leave Picaria maybe in a slightly precarious space. And of course, an MP9 too, which up close is always going to have the advantage. Nice find. Upgrades to the AK.
Could be big here. Molotov pushes him away, so see what happens. Yeah, I was going to say maybe some attempts at the banana control. Picario falls as the smoke goes down. Well, Gore is in. Gore is committed. Still, lovely little angle for him. One might not be enough here. 3-on-3 bomb not really making its way over, but they have drawn a lot of attention across. The rotations feel set on B, especially as the deep smoke comes in. We'll see. This is a little interesting, I would say. Trying to indeed fake things out. Bomb going up, bomb going back. They're going to go for it. Leave a lurk, though, out towards A. So just got Widow to get through. He certainly looked like one of the stronger members, particularly on this CT side of things. Smoke comes in. Rainmaker wanting to push forwards, and Anti catches them sleeping. Big opportunity now. Widow, however, does the same. Oh my goodness, all over the shop. Should have been a kill for Anti, but Spect just reactionary shots. Brings it to the 2v1 somehow.
Might be a chance here. Timing of the essence as well, really ticking. If you can't find this kill, it's too late. It's too late. Can't get that bomb down. Stage misses out on his opportunity. And the bomb goes down, but it's, like we said, too late in that one. It's all I want to get a timing play. And this is the issue that we see a couple of times where on these T sides where slowing things down to try and bait out the CT side, but Ecuador aren't giving them the fights. They're not allowing them to sort of play this slow style of play, which is going to bait in these sort of engagements. So all in all, well played by Ecuador, and all they had to do was sort of at that tail end, just pump the brakes a tad. Know that all the pressure's on towards Guatemala. Well done. I mean, he gets a bomb down afterwards, right? But it doesn't make a difference in that instance. Bad. Not bad at all. 3 rounds in it. But still, Guatemala are 3 rounds away from taking Ecuador's map pick, which in itself could be pretty dicey.
Really important round here. Oh, there's a flash available. Thiman, though, you see this spot he's in? It's anti-flash, baby. They're not going to blind him at all. That is kind of cheeky, isn't it? Yeah, really, really nice, nuanced spot there. So the advantage rolls in as the kill comes easy. And now the upper hand, the run-of-the-mill Guatemala. Rainmaker with an overstep, though. He was definitely out there. That was a conscious decision to take that fight rather than play safe.
What's the play, though? Where are we looking to finish here in this 4v4? 30 seconds on the clock. And an aptly timed smoke. It has to be said from Ecuador there. They're going to have to go through this. That is not going to be easy. At least they're going to have the numbers advantage.
Oh my goodness, Weirdo on the edge! Looking for all of them, and he will indeed get it. 2 AKs to do the job. Absolutely massive round and a huge run in this second half from Widow. He has had a number of impactful moments. That's certainly going to rank number 1. But he has looked fantastic here for this Ecuadorian side. Might just continue.
Yeah, and also as well, can we now pretty safely start saying, Guatemala, let's speed things up, fellas. This is like the 3rd round now which they've lost to the clock alone. They don't need to play this slow. I understand that it's something that's done at this tier 1 level, but it's always part of a bit more of a macro plan. The issue is that Guatemala don't have that macro plan right now. They're leaving things super late and hoping they can barrel in and overwhelm, but by this point, they don't have the util, which is the main reasons why people go for late round pushes. They have the util set up, and it's tough. Nice fire from stage. All picked up as well as Widow. There's 4, but then the nade catches Timon. Oh, and the rifles at range should do the bulk of the heavy lifting. Rainmaker will get one before he falls, but it is Ecuador who make this a 1-round game, where at one point it looked like Guatemala were just going to sweep their way through this T side, make it look comfortable as. Now, maybe not to be. But yeah, I think now when we come back in towards this gun round coming through from Guatemala, they've just got to play a bit quicker. They're playing very, very slow, but with no actual kind of end goal in sight. They make a call out spawn. It does end up working out for them, and I just feel like that mid to late round is really costing them, where all something they need to do is just trying to overwhelm a bit of pace, and who knows.
Yeah, for sure, man. Again, they've clearly worked on some rounds here, as we have noted, as is evident, but very, very surprising kind of stuff that it just is not panning out. And again, like you say, might be lacking a little bit of that confidence in places. Anti manages to find a trade in the apartments, but ultimately a tough one to call. Another really important round. Widow on the AWP this time around finds another big kill.
Timon try to make a move up here as well. Smoke will come down to slow them down in towards top car. Bomb there. 3v4. This is looking like an Ecuador round through and through right now. I mean, all of them haven't even taken a point of damage, whereas Anti's barely alive. This would require something quite masterful. And another smoke that comes through. They've got a bit more util as well, this CT side. More smoke for Widow. A couple of flashes as well. They're going to try and keep them at bay. Oh, time ticking, 30 seconds. Picario goes 1-for-1 with Mittis, but 1-for-1 for the CT side now is still fine. And Mittis going to take some chunky damage to an aid.
Oh,
beautiful.
Spect. How has he managed to come away with it, man? Looking so clean here from Ecuador. It's just incredibly simple stuff. And Guatemala, after the initial rounds on this T side look good, have fallen off. So, again, Color is surprised with this, but Ecuador, yeah, indeed with some difficult rounds. Maybe that's part of it. You know, the kind of mental game, right? Guatemala have the foundations here, but keeping it together and keeping their heads screwed on straight is certainly easier said than done. And when you have individuals like Widow just kind of taking over rounds, it can be really, really challenging.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. This is the difficult spot that we're in. Got to see something change. So far, not so good. Been enjoying, really, these last few rounds out from Guatemala, where they've really fallen flat. Money is obviously going to take a pretty big hit here as well. Just the Tech 9s. Even armor in this situation is a bit of a luxury too. Hoping to just pop in towards A, but I mean, look, there's 4 players here from Ecuador. They've read this like a book.
It is Charging forwards. He does distract away enough for one. They're getting a little bit giddy, and this would be the round, wouldn't it? Oh my, they were set up, they were ready, but Guatemala just overwhelm, and communication goes completely to pot. Bomb has gone down now. Spectre's position known. Rainmaker coming in behind to drop him. He's the final player. And Guatemala with a big one at a key moment. 11-10 now. Might just give them the spur forwards. Ecuador, this is where we talk about the mental game for them. They have to keep it together and hopefully bounce back quickly. Yeah. Keep Guatemala on that 11.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, in that round, the baffling thing about it, there's 4 players for Ecuador towards A, right? So they've read that really well. How have not one of them got a kill? I mean, I don't really even know. There wasn't like a flash that comes over that completely blinds them or anything of the sort. I'm baffled, honestly, that not a single kill comes through for Ecuador. We didn't really see from their POV, but no idea sort of where they're looking in that situation. They get completely overwhelmed. Only time they get a kill is by the time the bomb's already gone down. I mean, at that point, too late. Ecuador, he can reinvest in. We've got an MP7 for Gore North, and we see that. MP9 up close is good.
Charging forwards, trying to find this opening frag. They can't make it happen. Guatemala down to 3 now. Still got a number of members in this banana area ready and raring to go. Can turn in an instant, but this risk could also cost them a key round. Vicario playing it so well. Lost his teammate. Reload pulled off. MP9 continues being a menace. Can't quite finish it off, but he's done the damage. Widow is here in good time. Nade goes in. Close, but on the wrong target. Still pretty comfortable for Ecuador in the 3v2.
All right. 25 seconds. Guatemala going back over to A. I mean, Alexio here alone might be able to just do the job himself. They're going to have to make a move too. It's another round in which Guatemala aren't giving themselves a hell of a lot of time on the clock to work with. Alexio, one swing through here, could get both, and he will. Beautifully done. Ecuador going to tie this game right back up. And yeah, you know, another one of those rounds where the kills are pretty good for Ecuador in terms of the trades off the back of each other and the damage that gets dealt as sort of an externality. And on the other side as well, Guatemala, another one where they just don't give themselves a hell of a lot of time, so they know they are in a bit of a rush, and having that pressure outside of obviously being on a man disadvantage too is not something you want to be in. So Ecuador, nice way to respond.
Oh, Stage gives the opportunity, and he will indeed take it. Big frag. Guatemala needed a lifeline in here. Round number 23 looking good, kicking off well. They have to be able to capitalize on it. We're going to get all the rounds, of course. It's a question of whether we get a few more out of Inferno.
All right. Widow dropping is actually a pretty big scalp to find early. He's been one of the main men who's been cracking things open for Ecuador. The only issue is he's also dying a hell of a lot as well. 17 and 17, even across the board. Gore gets very aggro there. Not sure that was needed. And he falls. Now a 5v3, and this is tough. I'm double stacking in towards B, though, at least in this sense. If the bomb commits to a B play, they've sort of read this right.
Alexo was kind of being watched for, but not by all members. Maybe should have had a little bit more there. Not going to be the case. They will take control of this A bomb site. It's going to have to be the save now without the hero move of Alexo. 12 rounds secured for Guatemala, which at one point we weren't really sure if that was going to happen. So we'll see here. There's a little more pressure to come through into this final round. Will it be the overtime? Will it be a steal away from Guatemala in the end? Ecuador will be absolutely kicking themselves if they let this thing slip through their fingers. But it unfortunately does happen. They now have to dig a bit deep and figure themselves out with a really, really poor buy as well now.
Yeah, exactly. And this is looking like Guatemala might be about to just take away that Ecuador map pick. Just when it really felt like Ecuador was starting to warm up in towards this game as well, they've let things slip away. And unfortunately, the issue is, I mean, they're going to have some level of a bye, but it's still just not going to be a nice one. We're looking at, what, probably two M4s we dropped over, I think, is at the very most. So maybe 3 to 4 M4s. Somebody's got to hit an MP9, so it's going to be Widow who takes that. And actually, Gore going to get one of his own as well. And the big thing that worries me most looking at this is actually the limited funds across basically everybody bar Becario. Becario falls early, makes retakes so difficult because they're not really going to have the util sets to work with. Molly smokes, flashes to get them entrances in towards sites and the rest. Tough old spot. Tough spot for sure. Out there, thrust in. Guatemala so close to taking their opponent's map pick away from them, which would be huge.
Quiet here as Guatemala group up at the top end of middle. Looking to try and get it going. Certainly easier said than done. 4 in the apartments. Out towards balcony. It is a risk. The flash comes in. Will it be effective here? They made it work on the pistols. Looking to do so again on the rifles, and they might just have done so. 4 versus 3. The retake to end all retakes here from Ecuador. And it is not going to be easy for them. They have limited utility, limited weaponry for Widow, but he does not seem bothered. Immediately evening up the numbers now. Where do we go from here? This could be a huge, huge retake if they can get it going. Slow build up through short looks good. Nades raining on in. Guatemala have to stand strong, and they will. All down to 1. He can't get it done. And Guatemala, right at the end of proceedings, will take away their opponent's map pick. Looked so good for Ecuador at one point on that CT side, but they could not keep it up.
Yeah, and I think it just comes down to a little bit of a lack of consistency at that tail end. I mean, I really felt like Ecuador had a prime opportunity to make something of that right towards the end, and they fall a little flat. A couple of the decisions just don't go their way, and then, you know, one of the big ones is just, sadly, economy gets broken. Guatemala make it work in their favor, and that postmark at the tail end, real nice. For them, taking your opponent's map pick in that sort of fashion, massively important. I think for Guatemala, that is a big bolster to their confidence. Off the back of what was quite a tough game yesterday, all in all, coming in towards this series, setting the tone early, taking that map in that fashion, really nicely done.
Yeah, for sure, man. I think there's an awful lot in here that looks good from both teams. Obviously, we wanted the competition to come through from these guys as well, but Guatemala maybe just had that extra kind of level. I think that they've clearly put the work in, as we mentioned a few times. It's just kind of a bit of a surprise, really, that like it takes them a bit of time to get going in rounds. Maybe they're not looking as comfortable. And there's also this argument where it's like, okay, if we put this effort in, therefore we really have to use it and we have to focus on it. And sometimes I think that can just get inside your head a little bit and put a lot of onus on each and every moment, each and every round, each and every mechanic, you know, that you've worked out. And sometimes you just have to take it a bit looser. Maybe that's what we saw from them towards the end, right? They kept going in for the balcony burst because it worked and it felt good. And I like that call. I respect that call as well. Even if it didn't pan out for them, it's like it's found success and it's something that we feel comfortable doing. So towards the end, I think they loosened up a little bit in the calling style, and it worked.
Yeah, I mean, run through these highlights as well, and you just see how close it was. I mean, Ecuador did really well for me to recover. I think Guatemala, I mean, realistically, they should have probably closed it out like 5 rounds earlier, right? They were 10-7 up, and they were looking well on track, and they completely fell flat. And a lot of rounds that were lost for Guatemala were actually primarily their own mistakes. I think is the biggest issue that we kind of came forth with, where we were seeing this side, you know, go for executes for like 9 seconds on the clock and not even really understanding how many players were towards the side, what the setup was looking like for the CT side. I think for Guatemala, they are things you can clear up, but take a look at the scoreboard off the back of that. As predicted, a good game out from Stage, but an even better one out from Rainmaker. Really solid one from him. He looked good all throughout, both halves, really make his impact known, and I think having a player like him is a pretty massive thing. I think Widow, he also had his moments too where he looked clean. I just think sometimes the issue with Widow is you get his kill, instantly die, so his impact was, I think, slightly limited, or at least more limited than it probably should have been.
Yeah, it's true. It is very, very true. Certainly a difficult kind of run in that sense, but on both sides, really, I think, individually speaking, there were a few players that maybe could have pulled the weight a little bit more. Again, though, as you mentioned, there's a lot of impact that comes through. So I think that for me, it does feel like it came down to a few of those final rounds where, again, Guatemala with the calling just looked way, way more lucid, and I think certainly into an aggressive play, looking a hell of a lot better.
Yes, exactly that. But all in all, really good stuff from Guatemala. Good to see them kind of coming in towards this series, a bit of confidence off the back of, yes, it was a tough game, but I think, we already spoke about it. When you're coming against Canada, who are, the favorites probably in this group and maybe one of the favorites in the entire tournament, it's tough. They only got 8 rounds across both maps yesterday, so they've already superseded that in towards map 1 alone, and that for me is good. We're going to throw us on to a quick break, however, ladies and gents, so sit tight. Map number 2 coming up in just a moment.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back in. First map all the way down to the wire. All 24 rounds required, but unfortunately, it does go the way of Guatemala. Ecuador will be kicking themselves. A pick of theirs that they were pretty confident in, played it yesterday. Actually, no, they didn't get to play it yesterday. It was the decider yesterday. So it's certainly interesting to see it coming out in that series. And maybe that's part of the reason why, trying to move into something a little bit different and try and make it work, but unfortunately it doesn't quite happen for them. Still felt like it was winnable, though, is kind of the difficult thing now moving into this second map, is that, like, are they going to be able to get themselves in the right mind frame moving into this? I
mean, it is definitely a weird spot. I mean, I think we've got to look at it in a bit more macro sense. They were so close, Ecuador, right? I think, they 13-11 is not a bad scoreline to lose by. It is just the fact that some of the ways in which they lost those rounds are pretty damning. They had so many opportunities that they just couldn't quite see off in their favor. A lot of these 2v2 or 1vx situations for them were just not quite going their way, where Guatemala were able to dig deep tail end and see it off. Guatemala should have seen it off earlier, and if that was the case, I'd probably be coming in towards map 2 saying, this is looking very much like a 2-0, but I think because it's Mirage, and because that game felt kind of close, I still think there's a chance here for Ecuador, but a few mistakes that really creep in towards their play style, which I think is pretty tough. I think for me, the big one is their tendency to want to overfight. Now, it's not always the worst thing in the world, but in a couple of situations when you are at a numbers disadvantage, there is times where getting proactive and trying to level the playing field, maybe if you're in a 5v4 and you want to try and bring it back to a level playing field, try and get a 4v4 out of this, you want to get a little active. But sometimes they do it off the back of no information, and because of that, it actually just ends up costing another life. And that happened on quite a few occasions on that CC side for Ecuador, where then they'd be playing rounds out from basically a 5v3 from the jump. And small things like this is where maybe you'd see at like a tier 1 level, you go a man down, you have no information about where they're going or where they're trying to kind of set up for, an execute to finish it off. The best thing you should do is actually just shell up a little bit, play off each other, and hope that you can sort of isolate in maybe the executing towards the site, you can get 2 or 3 kills out of it, and then level the playing field for a retake. So small things like that, which I think are these tendencies that you learn with reps, and ultimately these are sides who maybe don't have as many officials that they get to play under their belt. They don't play as much of the high-level Counter-Strike. It's a bit more domestic, and it's stuff that you just learn with time, and it's why these sort of qualifiers are so important, right? For maybe regions that don't get as many opportunities to play Counter-Strike on a bigger stage, on an international live stream and all the rest, is something you learn with time. But Ecuador, the one positive of them is, we're going towards Mirage. They'll know how to play it. Everybody knows how to play it. So their individuals might be able to bail them out and potentially even push it to a third.
Yeah, I mean, definitely true. Just to kind of pick up on the point that you're saying as well, this may well, for some of these players in a little while, be one of the only sort of high-stakes games that they've been playing, where that's a 13-11, goes all the way down. And indeed, we've all been in those 13-11s, and some of them feel like they mean a little bit more. Maybe you're having a great game. Maybe you've picked up some big clutches. Maybe it's a comeback for you and the boys, or a promotion game, something along those lines, right? And I think that is exactly the kind of feeling that these guys will have, and the adrenaline running high. And this is a pretty important one. It's going to be difficult for them to get a qualification spot for sure, but there will be space there, particularly that side of Guatemala, who've got to play off against Costa Rica, right? Which is potentially a winnable game for them, as we'll kind of find out depending on how the game pans out against Canada for them. But ultimately, there is a chance here, so long as you end up getting the victory. If you go down here, then there is no chance, unfortunately, for you to qualify in. It would feel like, unless everybody starts beating everybody, but we feel that Canada are going to have the upper hand in a lot of matchups. We're into things here, though. Not wasting any time. Sir, there was no one on the other end of it. Oh, my goodness. Listen, it happens, but that is definitely a team kill that could have been avoided if we were just kind of, a little less trigger happy. And it might end up costing them, We laugh in the moment because it looked pretty good, but the CTs have managed to pull things back, particularly with Widow holding in cleanly. Defuse going down. Ooh. Yep, get off of him and just try and find the kill. How is Simon not going down there? That's absolutely insane. You put a fair few bullets into that defuser as well. Goodness me. Widow, after a crisp start, fluffs it up at the key moment. And it will cost Ecuador the pistol.
Yeah, that's one of the moments of all, one of the pistols of all time. I think is probably the way to put it. It just carnage from the get-go. A completely unwarranted team kill. There was definitely no need for that. And then we just see the wildest 1v2. How he stays alive there and actually gets the guy off the diffuser. No idea. But Guatemala are going to take the first pistol to kickstart their map pick well. We're not going to see a force buy out for Ecuador. Just going to have to try and do it with the pistols as they're mostly stacking over towards short. And actually, they'll fight, but doesn't end up well for them. One man also spotted in towards short and leaves it all down 2-1. Widow, something special needed with the Deagle.
Well, indeed. We'll manage to find one. The Galil now, so a little bit of an upgrade for him. He's ready for a fight, but not quite in time. Stage will take him down. Just the one kill panning out for Ecuador then. Guatemala now moving up into proceedings. We'll see. It's going to be that quick rifle buy coming along, of course. Ecuador, difficult, but they will be still feeling good about this opportunity with the rifles.
True.
See what they've got planned for us, see if they can keep things interesting here, or if Guatemala will start this campaign and we'll start this streak.
Yes, exactly that. Checking over towards the other game, Canada have taken map number 1 there. They are, 1-0 up against Costa Rica. That was a 13-8 in what seemed like relatively quick fashion. It looks like, however, map number 2, Costa Rica are 10-3 down. So Canada look like they're on track to closing that series out quickly, which would confirm them making it towards playoffs. And probably the number 1 seed in this group as well. Pretty huge.
Nice find from Widow. Traded out quite quickly in on this A-bomb site, though. Mitties with a big one. That feels like it might just be the kill to win them the round here, and indeed getting overwhelmed. Guatemala immediately looking a bit more comfortable on Mirage. Maybe more onus for them to control where the fights are going down, move a bit faster, and work around that coordination. Solid stuff.
Yeah. Man. Looking to see where that last guy Bacario is coming from. Might spot him in a second. He's tap on towards the bomb, but Timan doesn't need to peek. I mean, he's just playing this to perfection. Doesn't need to do anything. Flash will come down. He knows he's getting hunted. And this round is done. Doesn't expect him in towards Del Pan, was expecting him in towards Chair. So Guatemala make a nice 3-0. It's been a little expensive, but of course that is expected when the guns do come through. But Guatemala now converting on the pistols, the eco, and now the gun round as well. Everything that they could want to go right is going right. It is going to pretty massively hinder that economy coming through for Ecuador and towards the next. So it should be a 4-0 start, which, yeah, you know, kind of just reaffirming as to what you were saying. Guatemala look much more comfortable to start things out here on towards Mirage, which is exactly what you'd want and hope out of their own map pick.
Yeah, looking good initially here. Ecuador out with a bit of a B stack. We'll see if they can make this sing. It kind of depends on if Guatemala end up over there in this round, which there is a bit of a possibility. Some slim B presence coming in. But a pretty slow one. Guatemala, I suppose, expecting presence, expecting something to come their way. But not going to be the case just yet.
All goes quiet though, doesn't it? Just under that minute mark now. Once again, Guatemala looking for some information to work with. With them expecting and knowing it's going to be a low buy, I can understand why this one's a little bit slower. But in the end, wherever they could go or would normally go anyway, they shouldn't have too much trouble. Widow, he'll fall. And that is the A site open. Nobody else home. Gonna drop the util just in case, but they'll realize sooner rather than later that nobody's present.
Yeah, just kind of as quick as that, really. It's a case now of keeping this flawless, which I think would be a pretty big deal on their T-side campaign. Rainmaker, of course, who else is looking to get aggressive here. Loves a fight. You can see why he's good in them. 2 for him, 1 for Timon, and that will indeed be a flawless round. Nearly no damage taken, in fact, for Guatemala, so starting to really spiral here.
Yes, exactly, which is sort of exactly what you want as well, making sure that those low buy rounds don't have any sort of a problem or kind of an effect over you in any way. Making sure that they don't hinder the economy, they don't have too much pressure and everything else. 4-0. We're back into the buy, which is good. Let's see what Ecuador can do. They need to get a round converted, probably within the next 3, I'd say. If they can't do that, Guatemala could already set themselves up into a really, really strong spot.
Ooh, what a find from Rainmaker to open up. He's looking good here. And again, Ecuador in a difficult spot with not even 30 seconds gone in the round there. Guatemala have got a player boosted up. A reactionary move here from Ecuador. Not necessarily moving him into window, but just presence all across the map here for Guatemala. They're going to shape up and look for the B hit.
Oh, bit of a tag. No, not escaping there though, are you, Widow? Gonna get caught by Stage. That's it. Now gonna post up. Let the rifles go first. He can hold it for rotations. Oh, can't get the second. Nearly a chance. Nearly, but not to be. Bomb goes down. This is tough. Cat player caught. Spectre fall, and I think this round's probably safely to call this one being done.
Yeah, already Gore, however, is in behind. He might be on a little bit. He might be on. He's here pretty quickly. Molotov retrieved. Try and force some fights out. But unfortunately, like you say, that bomb is so far ticked, they can just play around it, and really he has no option. 10-second timer goes. Yes, he's got a kit, but they're just not going to give him the fights here. And yeah, really well played. Recognizing that, look, it is very losable if we give him the heads-up fight, so just play tight, play disciplined, and he won't have time to work with.
Nice. Yeah, good work. Okie dokie. 5-0 and another good showing from Guatemala, where, quite simply put, they just don't give many options for Ecuador to work with. They don't give them a hell of a lot. It's, yeah, a tough old spot that we're in now as well, with Ecuador kind of continuously dipping. Full buys come through. They don't find the success they need, or at least enough kills, or anybody staying alive either. So back to an eco rinse and repeat. And it's a tough spot you put yourself in. Alexo tries to get active there. Just get caught by Timon, who's holding. Oh, expected to get caught through the smoke too, which is rough.
Guatemala with the mid control. Looking to take yet another round. Really efficient in the early stages of this one. Should be able to close it out from here, but Widow is getting a little bit into the fights. He might go overlooked down here. Meanwhile, on B, the hold is not standing strong. Lurking presence makes it happen, right? All going to be onto Widow. Might just get the drop. Oh! Knife out, but it's getting a bit weird over here. Oh my goodness, how did they end up on the other side of each other? That's kind of wild. Either way, Guatemala finds 6. I like the idea of the knife. And he gets a little unlucky, but doesn't get the knife kill, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, it's true. 6-0 though. This is already, I would say, even if it was the end, 6-all, I would still say 6 rounds on T side is generally seen as enough. This is the second most CT sided map by the numbers, and I mean, as it goes, Ecuador are really struggling to have that much of an impact here. No one towards B. This is a brazen call. We're going quick towards B as well. Guatemala have called this perfectly. No one's here.
Wow. Wow, kind of wild. It's a lovely change-up, lovely mix-up from Guatemala, and indeed it has paid absolute dividends. I think you just have to say from here, it's such a weird game state to deal with. And there's just so much utility remaining for Guatemala to continue locking you out. Indeed, they will go for the save. So, 7th hit for the T side. Starting to get a bit worrying for Ecuador. Little unlucky in this round, you have to hand it to them, but still, 7 in a row without you having any rounds to work with is just a very dangerous prospect.
So they are going to save with Orfor. Oh, maybe not Orfor. Definitely not Alexo. He gets caught on the tail end. And it will be a flawless round. Rainmaker goes out to the bomb, but it's not exactly a positive that Ecuador can really work with, in all honesty. Nice and easily done. Another round for Guatemala, which they hear a bit of mid-presence come through, or at least flashes, and I think it was 2 flashes and a nade. And that for them is thinking, right, well then, surely if they're going for a bit of mid-presence here, that means that the B-hub might be a little weak at this exact moment. They pop off the back of the information, and they realize, yeah, nobody is actually here. That's really nicely done from Guatemala in terms of that sort of early to mid-round. Not bad. Not bad at all. Pause in the conversation. That gets hard, and Ecuador, we need to see something change for them. Thankfully, with their saves, they buy back in, right? No issues. But Guatemala are already guaranteed a lead at a 7-0 as well. I mean, they're cooking right now on gas, and Ecuador are really struggling. Their time in this tournament is dwindling at this rate too.
Yeah, and fast, it feels like, They really haven't given us very much at all to be hopeful about. It sounds a bit harsh, but unfortunately it is true, at least on this map, right? First map, definitely. We know that there are capabilities in there if they can find themselves again. But look, it's a tough loss to stomach. Your pick, really close, 1-2 rounds in it. Fall flat to a bit of a tilter as well. The same round that you lost to Key Eco to ends up being the round that you lose the game to. It is a challenge, right? And then on top of that, Guatemala are looking super comfortable here. So you have to sympathize with Ecuador, but Guatemala, you got to spare some thoughts for them as well. They're just doing what they have to do here ultimately to stay alive in the qualifier.
Yeah, give themselves the chance. It looks like as well, if Canada ended up taking that series, oh my god, that's a quick flick from Ante. Yeah, back to my point, it looks like it'll be between them and Costa Rica. See who makes that second spot. It's come down to tomorrow's game, which is a bit of a spicy one. And Alexo One apiece. Tim, I'm going to catch one in rotation. They still haven't cleared the sandwich player on towards A. Will they clear him is the question I'm having. Oh, might get a chance at both. There's the first. Traded immediately. Bomb going to get collected. Last man spotted over towards short. A jumping shot is brazen. It has to be said there. Well, the bomb goes down on a 1v2. This is tough for Picario.
Yeah, not going to be easy at all, but maybe the best chance that Ecuador have had for a little while. He's got to make this work. Has that kit, has that HP advantage. If he can find one of these kills super quick, super clean, but he's making so much noise on the way in. They know where he's at, and they are very, very ready for this, right? Early swing from Timon. Oh, and the off angle's not good enough. He gets the defuse. Very cleanly done. Ecuador in for their first round. Oh, man alive. It felt like they were in a good spot. They knew where he was at, but they jumped the gun a bit early. That is not great. No. Not great in the 2v1.
No, not at all. I think they just are... Maybe it's a confidence thing, right? Where I think for Guatemala, you know, they're at such a lead. They're thinking, right, you know, maybe we can be a little more aggro here, or they just back themselves. But they give away a 1v2, which they absolutely didn't need to. That should be an 8-0 start, 8-0 position that we're in. And, you know, Ecuador should be back to the drawing board a bit, but giving them a chance to at least build something at the tail end here. That's a tough one. Definitely shouldn't be losing that. These mistakes, if they go wrong, they could end up in a dicey spot. I don't know if that smoke was actually really necessary. That molly was basically about to fade there. But back jail player is going to get caught. One more in towards short. Alexo still, he's a known quantity. Oh, and the AWP. Stage going to catch one in rotation. That's beautiful. That's a brilliant B execute.
Rainmaker sees it off as they are now potentially on the hunt to try and drop this last gun. Guatemala take it in their stride, losing out a clutch. This is one of the things where Ecuador have to come back in and hit the ground running with that big morale boost that they will have gotten. Unfortunately, just back to more of the same, right? Nothing fresh or creative. They have to use it as an opportunity to sort of spread their wings, and they just don't. And see what happens, really. It's a very conventional kind of round coming in towards the B-bomb site. Looks all too easy for this Guatemala T side. They'll move up to 8. Listen, if it's 11-1, they're not going to be all that bothered.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, even at 8-4 feels like even that might be enough to say sort of GG in this one, right? I mean, this has been a really, really good showing. Just to mention as well, while obviously we've been going here, there was the concluded game of Canada, who have won out their second matchup against Costa Rica in a 2-0 fashion. It was 13-4 map 1, 13-8 map... Oh no, 13-8 map 1, 13-4 map 2. So a pretty comfortable 2-0, which does lock Canada guaranteed in towards the next round at that first seed in the group alongside the United States. So they're opposite side of the bracket now as well, which does mean that if they are going to meet for that sort of rivalry in the rest, it will be in the grand final where both of them would have locked in their spots as well already. Fight. Picario is successful. Spec's going to catch Mitz jumping up. This is looking better. 3v3. Damage being dealt, but then jumping up Spec. I don't know if we needed to do that.
Yeah, maybe a little bit overzealous. And through the smoke as well here. 2v2 all of a sudden. So, we'll see. Bomb making its way over. AWP already in. A little bit of a weird situation. Nice kind of move here from Timon to move in through Palace. However, Picario is here. He spotted them both out. Finishes off one. And a long flank coming in. Timon eats that grenade. Not very good for him. 23 HP. I don't really see this one happening, unfortunately. So Guatemala felt like a decent spot for them. Again, getting ahead of themselves. Every brick that Ecuador is able to put down is going to help their case into that second half for sure. On plan not being attempted. Picario nice and sharp with it as he finishes off the round.
All right. There was a brief moment where maybe that 1v2 had a bit of legs behind it, but there's also always a big flank happening as well. So second bit on the board for Ecuador, at least for them. Keeping things open is, still a loose term, but open to some degree. If you get up towards an 8-4, it is still workable. Maybe with big quotation marks and the rest, but Guatemala reinvesting. They're going to have money for this round, the next round too. They need it as well. Even if this one was to go south, they can buy back in, it'll be fine. So they're never going to worry about the funds and all the rest. I think get an 8-2. Ecuador, they've really got to dig deep on towards their T side. But like we said, is the teams that are mixes like this, T sides where they do the best work. The CT sides have always been the slight weakness. This might be more of the same goal. Gonna get one, but instant trade by Timon.
Cario here again, though, looking absolutely brilliant. Keeps the kills coming in, and well, Ecuador might just have found themselves at the tail end. Widow with a big 3k on that AWP. Guatemala once in control of the game, letting it slip away. And look, man, it felt like as soon as they got that reset round that they were going to be in position to, at the very least, nail 9 and threaten 10. But now we're looking potentially at an 8-4, which is much more recoverable. It's a pistol and a rifle, and there's only really one round in it, depending on what your opponents decide to do with the force buy and whatnot, right? So
True.
Could close really, really quick if Guatemala are not careful. Speaking of quick, they're going to move up short. Widow ready as he blows open the smoke to find one. Trade out from Alexo is here. They weren't quite ready for him. There's another player at the back end of the site to deal with. The AWP as well has made its way around, and that is a frag. Felt like there wasn't enough of him to go. However, Stage all alone now, spots out and finishes off one, not quite the second. Where is this third man, though, is the big question for him. Gore coming in from short, not peeking. I was going to say going to go overlook, but they know they've got the bomb. They don't need to take any risks. And the big thing is if Stage drops down, it makes noise. So they will know all about it. He's trying to delay that for as long as possible. Not a single peek for Ecuador here.
Nate does do a bit of damage on towards Picarian, at least. Oh, he's trying to do something here, but it's a tough angle. 8-4. Ecuador do recover, in all fairness, towards that tail end, but I definitely feel like they're going to need something quite special. I mean, we're looking towards the second half, and even on the other side too, if we don't see a pistol taken from Ecuador on this T side, they're going to still be in a hell of a lot of trouble. We're still thinking about this being maybe not actually even recoverable. I mean, if Guatemala found a pistol, they get a 9th, probably a 10th too, depending on whether Ecuador get a bomb plant. And at that point, still feels once again like it's a tough old spot to put yourself in. We'll see, but still pretty high on the Guatemala hype train. They've been looking good, bar that little stint at the tail end where Ecuador did find a bit of form. It's a fake here towards A as well. 2 are going to make their way out, but the bomb is going towards top mid.
Could be interesting. We'll see how these players do on A, I suppose, because the setup is actually pretty deadly for a move like this. They're going to join from connector, but timing feels a bit off. Still, the catches are there. This needs to swing back in favor of the CT side quickly. Timon does well. Meanwhile, the bomb has slipped through completely going towards B. So a big reset of the game, a big headshot from Gore, and he will get it done all by himself. Bomb plant not even needed for Ecuador's 5th.
Wow. All right. Ecuador staying alive in this. Now we might have something on the cards. Potentially something to work with as well, right? Ecuador going to find a 5th. I don't know if we want to force here as well. On the other side too, we're looking at a situation where I think for Guatemala, the priority should be getting the guns out. In all fairness, it looks like that is probably what they are going to do. Low buy here. We got a couple of deagles, but not an over investment. We're not dipping down in towards an unbuyable situation in that next round. But at the same time, for Ecuador, real prime opportunity for them to make it a 2-round game. Nice find to find the first here and the second too. Labored, but we'll get there ultimately all the same. The third will follow in quick succession.
Right, very, very quickly then for Guatemala. Their lead is somewhat under threat. Not massive, not anything to worry about, but the big thing here is that this is a streak coming in of 5 now for Ecuador across both halves. Proving to us that they are indeed capable of creating a competitive game. And Guatemala's money is actually kind of weird, it looks like. So they're not going to be buying into this one. That's sort of an oversight from them, for sure.
They didn't fully buy, but when you look at it, it was actually like
some of them overspend.
Yeah, it was like some of them were down to like 1.3k, but when you've got 1.4k loss bonus that maxes out at 1.9k, I mean, you still actually are in a tough spot in terms of your investment. So yeah, I mean, questionable decision from Guatemala, to say the least. I mean, why would you kind of put yourself into a double eco when you could you should be either force buying or no buying? Tough one. 5-7 gonna get a kill. The P250 gonna get one more as well. Oh, hang on. A dink gonna come through. That makes it a possibility. They could tempt fate and give this a go. It's a question of, do you want to lose the AK?
I mean, you're buying into the next anyway. It's kind of a tough call. You can see him holding pretty far away, however. He wants that one tap into the next. So it will be stage on the exit. Not even really going for it himself. So Ecuador will take the round. It's a question of how many guns make it out. And if they are smart here, Gore's in a pretty good spot. Join him and all exit together. However, a slight split angle. Stage going to let them go past. Does manage to find one. Second, not quite. And the bomb doesn't finish him off. So it makes it costly, for sure. But could have been a bit more out of it there in the end if, he'd played the trigger discipline. Not the case, however. Okay, so here we go. With the way that the weird eco situation went down for Guatemala, it means that it all comes down to this rifle. Their lead is on a knife's edge.
Yes. No, exactly. This is a one-round game where, for Guatemala, we're buying in, but lose this round here, and we're talking about Ecuador taking a really decent stint, and this run is continuing. Timmy gets caught by the boost. Really nicely done from Ecuador, and it reaffirms the point that we've been continuously making, where it's the T sides are so much scarier than the C sides in both cases, and this is a prime example once again of that.
Yeah, man. Big find. This is problematic. Guatemala left a little weak here from some of the exchanges, some of the spams through smokes and things. So, not looking too good for them, Shouldn't be able to win from here. But a well-placed player could make all of the difference. Going to be an A move for Ecuador. The AWP is here. And you've got Ante in sort of one of our favorite CT positions. Could make it happen. Mittis does get caught on the other side, as does Rainmaker. A one-man burst, but they're still going to head towards A. Feeling confident. Risky for my money. Ante dealt with quickly. The AWP at the back end of the site. Molly pushes him out, and the AWP indeed finishes him off. 8-8. Ecuador are doing it. Where the hell have Guatemala gone?
Yeah, they have completely fallen apart on the CT side. And the thing is, the CT wasn't that bad in towards map 1, but it's kind of confirmed that idea that we've had. Because you are playing as a bit more of a mix, it's much easier just to play on the T side and run default of just getting towards fights nice and early, back yourself in the Angels, and that's what we're seeing. Widow's opening kill with the AWP. He looks pretty crisp in towards this one. Bacario's looked very clean as well. So they aren't even requiring too much out of the other sort of 3 in this situation. Quick play towards B is the call. This is going to be tested here. MP9 under a lot of pressure. He just goes down to the molly. Full blind in the flames. He has no idea what's even happening.
One plan coming in. Deagle gets a little caught. Timon as well distracted away. So not looking like it's going to happen here. M4 goes down. That's sort of the scary one of it. Rainmaker on the deagle. Clean headshot. But nothing else coming for him. Lead taken by Ecuador. And this really is mind-blowing stuff, to be honest. Guatemala just disappearing completely. Saw this a little bit out on Inferno as well. The mental has been a difficult game for them for sure.
Yeah, I really feel like they are collapsing a little bit here. It's tough to see, but Guatemala are falling incredibly flat. Not looking good at the moment. It is safe to say. Guatemala back into an investment, but now they are playing catch-up. Something we definitely didn't expect with... At one point, it was looking like we could be talking about an 11-1 half for Guatemala. You know, we even brought that up briefly because that's how it felt in the game. And look where we are now. Aptly timed smoking will come down. Maybe a little late, though, in all fairness, because this is going to jump out towards site. One dropped out. Anti should be getting both there. He doesn't, but his teammate will trade. At the very least, you'll take that.
Yeah, Timon keeping it cool. Bomb plant should come in here, albeit not completely scot-free. Just trading utility from behind triple on both sides of the equation, really. So the plant goes down. There isn't a kit, is the one thing I am noticing. Mitters turns away from the flash, and a big find from him. 4v2 now. Time still of the essence. Gore in a pretty good spot here, actually, as this smoke goes down. They will trade him out. Just going to be down to Widow. Where the hell is he? And he's kind of in towards all these smokes. Up in the palace. Will get taken down. Couldn't quite find the bomb there, fellas. They did actually retrieve the kit from the sandwich player. And Guatemala back on the board. The classic. Lose their lead. They immediately bring it back into question.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. All right. As we're all tied square, I mean, the big thing with Ecuador is they're going to just have plenty of money in those back pockets for at least the next sort of 5 or 6 rounds with or not 5 or 6 rounds, like 4 or 5 rounds, I think, as long as they're getting bomb plants. They're just going to keep them afloat, even if Guatemala are to streak. But I think for Ecuador, they need to be kind of careful now. We're talking about, for them, I think, at the very least, where they're in a little bit more of a feeble state. They've basically got to play every single round out now with the expectation there's going to be guns out, at least in regulation for Ecuador. 4 or 5k in the back pockets. If you get bomb plants and then Lost Bonus builds up, they're always going to have that money. So Guatemala need to never really underestimate what the investment's going to be forward looking like for Ecuador. This could be quite tough if they are to do so. Ecuador going to be taking mid-control. Gives kind of at least, he gets given this. Let's see what feels like a little bit too easily, all of Ecuador here. Guatemala just don't want to fight them for it.
Yeah, look, I mean, you can drop the mid-control for sure on Mirage, but you have to know how to play around that. Make sure that you keep those extremities carefully controlled. It's the window presence that can be difficult, right, to keep track of. The AWP trained in here. Gore is already up. All a question of timing. Needs the site anchors to do well so that he is not drawn away, is ultimately what this is going to come down to. At the same time, Gore could feel the need to jump in a little early, and he will. That's good for Guatemala. They're all in connector pretty much is what this is going to come down to. Round the corner, Timon ready to go. He's a little bit low, spotted out. Some team damage in there does make life a bit awkward, but Anti also falling quite quickly. The AWP goes on high to try and make something happen. Doesn't quite pan out. He's still alive on the edge of the smoke. A wild play from Widow. It's all going to be down to Mitters here. They're so very low. Definitely is doable. A big, big round for Guatemala if they can take it. But they will make sure to keep him at bay. Widow survives on 1 HP. That is insanely lucky. Where is this second player? Picario just going to move around slowly. He's trying to draw him out. Does so successfully. But again, another low HP fight that is working against him. He's got this kit available. Will the headshot land? Oh my goodness. So many chances to take this player down. Not going to happen just yet. But there's hardly any time to go. He's got to get on the bomb now. He's going to go in and try for the hold. Gets the USP out. No time. No time for that. And he will drop. Double digits for Ecuador. They're so lucky.
Yeah, they are. I mean, again, 1 HP on towards Widow. He's so fortunate to stay alive there. But at the end, kind of well played from them. You know, both of them not really fighting until it's already that point kind of too late. So, simply put, Ecuador take back a lead, put a lot more pressure on towards Guatemala, who are still looking quite feeble on towards the CT side. This is a tough spot that they're in. Ecuador, they have complete control of the momentum, right? It's safe to say Guatemala not looking like that side that were in that first half. However, you'll take an opener like that every day of the week, and Stage actually continues getting a bit aggro. So now he can hold off and at least lock off rotations in towards B. As long as he doesn't overextend, he should be fine.
Really big opportunity here to keep the game alive, to keep the 2-0 alive. Bomb is way back in the B apartment, so it's a big expenditure here from Ecuador to draw attention. 8 goes in, decent damage. Bomb's still edging towards B, and Guatemala moving a little bit of the resources, but not quite banking on it just yet. Especially as the trades come in. It's the short crunch itself, though, that could be a big problem here. You do still see Stage over there, but he's not ready for this flank that's coming in. Surely goes down, and indeed the site will fall. 3 versus 3, but such a weird kind of game state here. There goes Rainmaker. A little undisciplined in some moments. It works for him. In others, it could cost his team the round. Spect at middle drops Timon, and Ecuador with a wild round make it work and recover it back after Guatemala's opener.
Yeah. And now this is starting to feel dangerously like a third map looming. Guatemala. And it makes you think as well, if that tail end, those rounds, those mistakes on that T side from Guatemala, they weren't found in any way like that, right? You know, if we saw them maybe get up towards the potential of a 9 or a 10 that was on the cards, then we could have been talking easily about them just maybe even stumbling a little bit, but getting across the line in a 2-0 fashion. Now it's not looking good. I mean, there is just about maybe enough funds to buy in towards here. I mean, you basically everybody bar Stage can buy comfortably, and then Mitters can drop them over. So I think you can opt for a force if you want. And it looks like with anti-full buying, that is what they are going to go for. They're going to have attack pause though before we get there. But Guatemala are falling apart. It's a reoccurring theme, may I say, that we've kind of seen throughout this, where it's all about how these CT sides don't have that much comfort. It's all about how it is the dictation of the tempo and the pace of these games on the T side, and this is what we're seeing out. Ecuador looking a lot cleaner, and even those few rounds that they got at the tail end to make it an 8-4 have absolutely kept them afloat. 8-4s as a foundation is absolutely workable, and yeah, Guatemala completely falling off a cliff here, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean it is mental. Look, they've gotten kind of unlucky in that 2v1. Previous round probably should have been theirs. Misread. Ecuador just pulling out some really, really fantastic rounds.
Yeah.
So you do have to give credit to them in the recent memory with how good they are looking. But Guatemala as well, with the way that this one kicked off on their own T side, will be kind of kicking themselves. It comes down to an 8-4. That it isn't cleaned up kind of way before this, I suppose. Should have been like a 9-3, 10-2 half at one point,
True,
it felt
yeah.
like. So there's a lot of question marks around where Guatemala went in this game. But Inferno had a bit of this as well. Maybe not to the same kind of degree, to be honest, but it did have a bit of this Guatemala drop off, and they managed to take it in regulation just about. Will it be deja vu for Ecuador here?
Okay. Let's go quiet. 45 seconds. It's a nice find from Timon. He doesn't get traded immediately. He's so low is the issue, and he probably will fall regardless. Teammate makes a bit of a chunk of that nade. In all fairness, how has Anti not got that kill? Bomb gets dropped anyway. Alexo low. Macario. Only one of HP is going to make this a 2 versus 2. He's a little precarious. The AWP on the corner. Doesn't want to stick around too much for the fight here. So the bomb will go down. 2 players from Guatemala playing isolated here. This looks pretty good for the post plant.
He might have been heard. He might have been heard. Vicario on the angle, ready to go. And indeed drops him. Again, another crunch moment. Looks to go the way of Ecuador here. Stage clearing everything out as best he possibly can. EK might better suit him here. Trying to check the angles. Noise being made. Plucked out of the air. And I don't believe it, man. Ecuador are just converting the most impossible of rounds.
Yeah.
Another one going their way. Absolutely insane stuff.
And it also has to be said on the other side as well. Guatemala losing the most impossible rounds too, right? Another one which they, in no way, shape, or form should be losing, but they find a way to do so. Tough. Really, really tough to see. They every day of the week, Guatemala should be seeing that off, but, you know, jumping on Tetris should cost you your life, but for somehow, some way, Anti can't find that kill, and now we're looking directly down the barrel of a third map here. Never thought that was going to be the case. I mean, even the 8-4, it didn't feel like that was going to be the case. But yeah, Guatemala, they've fallen flat here. Really, this CT side is not being good at all. This is looking considerably more akin to what we saw of Guatemala against Canada, where they just could not get going at all. I mean, they have barely even scratched the surface in this second half.
Yeah, it is kind of wild. It is kind of wild. I think, you know, this is a back to the drawing board kind of situation. For this map, at the very least, we still have room to go. Alexo going to find our first head and may well be knocking this one over. Spect staying cool, clean, fine from him. Is it A? Is it B? It looks like it will be the A-bomb side. Rainmaker here pretty quickly, and again, no care in the world goes flying in.
Yeah.
As they found a kill towards short, they now have options, still have the advantage.
Okay. Well, Vicario drop stage, and that should see things off it. A third map looming. Brilliant stuff, though, from Ecuador. They've really never stopped for a moment. Foot on the gas all the way throughout this T side, where Guatemala have looked, I mean, lackluster is even underselling it. They have really looked super uncomfortable all the way throughout. Tech9 will see it off, and Ecuador pushes towards Ancient. That decider. Yeah, there's not many ways to really depict how badly things went for Guatemala in that second half, but disastrous is probably the way I go about it. They really were just all over the shop.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. The drop-off sort of has to be studied in a little way, to be honest with you, and now I have severe questions moving into this third and final map. A pretty important series, as we have been highlighting, right? These two teams need this win to stay in contention, and ultimately with the back and forth nature of it, it's really hard to call, really hard to predict. We've got the Ancient up next, and yeah, I just don't know what to say. Ecuador, look, they did look good, and they do make a lot of those clutch situations in particular work for them, where they're playing things disciplined, not kind of jumping the gun. I think Guatemala were on the other side of it, where there are a few 4v3, 3v3s that spiraled quite quickly because, you know, one or two players would just go flying in, give the advantage away. A bit too carefree, maybe indeed a little bit angry, a little bit tiltable at the latter stages of the game. So they will be kicking themselves. In the same vein, they maybe only have themselves to blame in places. But look at where this was at, man. 8-1. You gotta be kidding me. You know,
yeah.
Like, it's crazy that they're unable to make that work.
Yes, exactly. We were at an 8-1 scoreline. It looked like it was... I mean, it should have been done. I mean, honestly, as well, on the other side, Guatemala very easily could have walked away with a 9-3, there's even a 10-2 half as well, but just because of how well they were playing. But they fell flat. And if you think about it, you know, 8-1 up to lose on a map in that sort of fashion at the tail end, where you just completely fall apart. You can't really actually talk about the 8-1 scoreline as a positive. It's actually a thing that works against them as a whole, right? Because it just says about how this side crumbled and couldn't keep up that level that they were bringing. So, hey, I mean, it happens, right? You know, you still got a third map to bring in towards this as well, but it was catastrophic. 8-1 up and use 13-9. It is fundamentally, inexcusable.
Yeah, to be fair, I think you do make a fair point. We'll see moving forwards. You got players like Anti and Mittis who dropped off a cliff individually as well. Timon still look good. Stage still active in places, but very difficult to deal with Widow once again for the side of Guatemala. And now we look across to this Ancient as a big old question mark. Not really sure what to expect. Very puggy, very aggressive. That seems to be suiting the Ecuadorian side a little bit more, actually.
Yes.
That they can, take the fights early and get active. But we'll see. We'll see. I still don't know what to make of Guatemala. They have a very strong floor. Maybe the ceiling is, unbreakable, really. It's a really strange kind of situation. I think we've, been around that enough. But yeah, it just makes them very hard to predict.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely spot on. Really, really nicely done, though, from Ecuador. I mean, a lot of credit has to be given towards them. They look clean all the way through. The side that put up a lot of really good rounds on that T side. If they clean on that CT side maybe a little bit in the early part of that game, that could have even been a more damning scoreline. But simply put, it is what it is, and that is map number 2 concluded. So they take each other's map pick. We now go towards Ancient as our decider. We are going to throw this one to a break, though. So, ladies and gents, sit tight. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back in. We are rolling into the third map. Certainly, we're not expecting that just by virtue of the fact that, it looked good after the first map. Guatemala finding their opponent's map pick, then moving into this Mirage they've already played a little bit in this tournament. And the way, of course, the map itself started to pan out was looking really, really good for them, but they just completely disappeared. Absolutely insane stuff when moving on to the CT side. They, were just not even like a shadow of their former selves. I think on a completely different continent to their former selves. Yeah. Insane stuff. But also, on the other side, Ecuador picked it up, took that opportunity with both hands, and have now pulled us through to this third and final map.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to be kind of completely honest there, right? And I think that's the main thing is that for Guatemala, they looked at and played very tilted, I think, at the end. I think they, we were kind of just talking about a little bit there. It just felt like they mentally checked out. It felt like they just said, like, right, this is just not working. We'll just see if we can make something special happen. It worked in one round. They got on the CT side. But if you think of the streak, they were, again, 8-1 up to lose 13-9. I mean, that isn't good signs. You're losing 12 out of 13 rounds in a row. That is a capitulation of the highest regard, where you probably look at that map in a different light to what it initially felt. It initially felt like saying, okay, Guatemala looked great here, and they're on track for the 2-0, and then they fell apart. Where actually probably what was most likely the case now, with hindsight, was actually that Ecuador were just slow to start. Once they got going, they're actually a really good team who were competent on their T side, and actually had a little decent streak as well at the tail end of their CT side too, that gave them the foundations of an 8-4 half. So, yeah, it's tough. I think the biggest thing that we look at there in a main fashion is just how badly things fell apart for Guatemala. I mean, that sort of capitulation is actually sometimes going to be quite difficult to sort of research from, because it can linger on your mind, especially if you're not a player. These guys aren't kind of tier 1 professionals. They aren't used to these kind of arduous games where you lose control and it's difficult to get back into, and you can't find any gaps and this, that, and the other. So I think one of the things that will concern me a little bit is how Guatemala then come and approach in towards map number 3 now. We're heading towards Ancients. But yeah, I really don't know if Guatemala had enough time to mentally reset. Like I said, if you're not a tier 1 pro, it's something that affects even up towards the higher echelons of tier 2.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think it is going to be a real challenge. As it has been all series long, I think that is really the theme here. Guatemala, though, catch the aggression. Absolutely mow down the A push. And this is a good way to kick things back off with a flawless pistol. Timon finding himself a 3-piece. He looked good for that Guatemala side, despite losing things out. Despite, in the end, actually only getting 9 rounds, which, isn't an awful lot given how one-sided it began for them. He continued getting kills, so it's good to see him top of the scoreboard here once again.
Exactly. Good for Guatemala. I'm going to probably reiterate this point many a time throughout this third and final map, but over these sides, a lot of their success, or the majority of their success, has come from the T side, and that's been the kind of key point. So it's all well and good Guatemala finding this, but it's that CT side which was lackluster on Mirage, and the one that I'm really going to be keeping an eye on in this series for that second half.
Trying to get in the face of the lower B players. They do manage, there you go, to find a bit of a head, but nothing else going to come off here, one would assume. Mitis is deep in towards mid, completely unexpected. So just Picario on the other side of things. That bomb will be going down momentarily. That will be the call of the round.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. USPS, not going to be doing a hell of a lot here. Potentially could catch one off guard. Back turning towards Red Room. Might open up a chance, but it looks like timing might just get the better of him, in all honesty. He's gone back down towards elbow / shelf. Bomb gets planted. And that'll be that. Mitz is going to hold for rotations, and now he's set up ready for a flank if there is to be one. Plays running towards shelf. Has jumped in towards cave. So maybe slightly slipped the net. But going to be caught. Nonetheless, Anti seeing it off. Alrighty. 2-0. First going round going to come through for Ecuador. We do need to see this side shine a little bit, right? We need to see Ecuador put up a couple of rounds on the CT side early doors. It can't be another one for them where they're 8-1 down and then they finally come alive.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. You know, you can't be sat banking on that 2 maps in a row. So they got to give us a bit of something here. But again, it felt like, you know, Ancient on paper, from what we've seen, would be a pretty solid map for the likes of Ecuador, the way that they have been playing in this series. But Ancient, a bit of different gravy through and through. A lot of tit for tat, a lot of protocols have to go down, which is maybe an area that Guatemala have had a bit of an upper hand in. However, Alexo, with some assistance, finds that first frag onto Mitis. They'll know his position, but they feel pretty good about keeping it at the moment on the CT side of things.
Under a minute now. Get a bit of a move. Control taken. Spam on the smoke. He's getting pretty damn close as well. And actually, Rainmaker going to find that kill. Nicely done. I'll look towards, again, in this 4 versus 4, Ecuador have taken a little bit more damage. Things are pretty tough for them. 30 seconds, though. Guatemala got to make a decision. They've sometimes left things a little bit too late.
Rainmaker, however, will find this initial frag onto the A take. Widow brings it back, 3v3. In quite quickly is Picario as well. Bomb going to go down. Oh, it's actually a fake out. That could be dangerous. They're allowing the bomb plant, at least initially. Alexo is here quite quickly. Ooh. Traded out. Picario on the long con, man. Not moving for a good while. He's lost his teammate. Kind of lost the drop, to be honest. He also has only seen 1 in cube. So it's like, where's the other guy? I don't really know. There's very little time to work with. They're set up and ready to go. No need to peek out if the bomb's not getting tapped. Guatemala come away with that third. Bit of an oversight, I would say. Picario felt like he had a good spot. He just didn't use it.
Yeah, very true. Very true. 3-0 start there for Guatemala. And now we're talking pistol, eco, and the gun round being converted for them, which is good. I mean, all in all, a really solid performance in this early stage. Very akin to what we saw in Mirage, but I do feel like we've sort of learnt our lesson as well, where we've had these strong T-side starts and they go towards the CT side. It happened yesterday. It feels like it might happen today as well. Either way, though, mid control. Take him on that T side, up and towards Shelf. I mean, they get all of this control for absolute free. as Ecuador in this low buy just basically playing to shell up on the sites themselves. PT50 will take a lot of damage. Nate, oh my god, he stays alive. He's lucky. The second one should do the job, or the gun behind it as Timon makes sure Widow falls.
Anti on this slow approach towards A. He's got Bomb coming to join him, but his patience will pay off. Another one comes their way here. So Guatemala down the barrel of a clean start. And it continues just down to Alexo. He also falls. Able to find one, but round not going to look too much under threat there. Keen stuff. I mean, just going through the motions, looking good initially.
Yeah, can't complain. I mean, we're really looking at this where it's pretty simple, right? We're seeing Guatemala play defaults coming out the gates. They're looking for early fights. They're getting mid-control taken for free. And this is a big thing that Ecuador, I think, now in towards the gun rounds have really got to try and clean up for me. That has to be sort of priority maybe number one, where I do want to see Ecuador fight a little bit more fiercely in towards mid. Don't allow Guatemala to run riot here. That's exactly what they're doing. Alexo, Molotov there, smoke behind it. He's double stacked as well with his teammates, so this is better. Can't allow Guatemala to control the tempo of the game by mid-control alone. This is much more kind of solid in this showing. Molotov, though, will force a fight forward. Alexo gets the first, but traded immediately.
Okay, a little bit more interesting from Ecuador then to try and keep themselves in it. Got to find this first round sooner. Would be better. We make around the corner. Slowly makes his way in. They will burst forwards and they open up the B-bomb site. That's going to be the round. That's going to be the save. You can see them already on the other side of the map, moving as far away from the action as they possibly can. They have to hand it across. And Guatemala, again, showing us this level of fundamental, this level of protocol, you know, contact in. Let's see if we can make that work. These are the types of things that require a lot of coordination.
Yeah, showcasing just how good they are. So far, so good. Ecuador not looking that clean on this CT side. Again, though, I'm taking all of this with a pinch of salt because we did see in towards that previous map how an 8-1 wasn't enough. I feel like I've learned my lesson not to get my hopes up too much. I hope that kills you, as they say. That is sort of what we're feeling here. Guatemala, go for a hunt at the tail end. Not going to spot out anything, and it will be 5-0. Ecuador, 30 seconds to have a conversation here for them. And, you know as well, we're looking at this, and for Ecuador, if they cannot get the CT side going in any vein, it is a little bit more difficult, I would say, on the T side, just because it's considerably more spaced out on Ancient. There's more opportunities to isolate fights if you're on that CT side and if you play it effectively. Ecuador do need to start getting some rounds on the board early. I think for them, you would have hoped they would have learned their lesson about going down to such a deficit and really having to fight behind and make something of this. And so far, not so good. I mean, let's see. I'm not going to completely count them out just yet, but I swear I'm out at the moment. It's just been pretty decent from Guatemala. No complaints.
Maybe a quick move towards A by the looks of things. Yeah, the crunch from middle. Oh, it's ineffective. Alexo's actually pulled off the reload, so a chance at another one here. Mitis needs to be careful, controls the fight. In towards the site itself, though. Picario is ready. Widow is around on the rotation. Not a bad look here for Ecuador as they're getting ahead of this action. Nade finds another. Just got to be careful. It's not a done deal quite yet. A lot of open channels for the AWP in particular to work with, but getting this bomb down here for Guatemala is going to be really hard, actually. There's a lot of presence. We'll see. Slows down for just a second, but that's to allow the CTs to get in position to all move in together and get themselves on the board finally.
Yeah, nice. Nice one, I think, for Ecuador. played a lot better. It just felt like out the gates a little bit more confident towards that one, at least in terms of their approach at the very least. They take an early engagement. They know that it's of the utmost importance as well to make sure you can't allow Guatemala to control the sort of the tempo of things. And yeah, I mean, generally speaking, much, much better in that instance. So, first on the board, can it be a catalyst to further success? At least getting maybe 4 rounds out from the CT side. I mean, that'd be nice as a sort of a bare minimum. We're going to get the first. That's good. Another as well, as Widow will get a second. He dips away, which is perfect.
Looking good. Looking very good, in fact. Red room is a little open. It will be patched by Picario, but still not the cleanest. Ooh, going to smoke in. Kind of a fake out as well. I quite like that. Draw attention in if they can find this donut player without losing anyone. Oh, it could be big. The AWP coming back round, but got to be careful. Again, not to go too crazy. Actually drops in to try and take the frag. And will survive the exchange. Down goes Gore. Ecuador scrambling to pick up the pieces when they have the man advantage. And at the A-bomb site, very retakeable indeed. Timon keeps them coming. And all of a sudden, it's slipped away. 2 versus 3, where it was 5. There's a kit available for both of these players, but no HP for Widow to really work with. Not going to be easy at all. Probably would be a save angle from here, to be honest with you. But they're going to try and thread the needle in, and they might just get away with it on the contact. Oh my goodness, quite a deep move in from Widow, but they need to get someone on the bomb right now. Not going to happen, and it backfires for them. Guatemala with a huge steal in the 3v5.
Yeah, it felt like they never should be walking away with that round at all. I mean, for Guatemala, they were in a real tough spot. It looked like Ecuador had at least some leg room to work with, but didn't end up being the case. And now with a 6th, it's pretty good for them. Ecuador back to a lesser bye, which is tough. Just when it felt like they were going to get a bit of success, it sort of immediately gets thrown back in their face. Tough opposition that you get put into. Nice shot as well as Alexu gets caught off the rip. That's a really nice find.
Fight for a bit more. Oh, misses. Oh, I thought it was a double spray down. Not quite. It's a team kill in there, unfortunately, Neo. You know, we've had a few of those. We have had a few of those. None too egregious, it doesn't feel like, but quite a few funny ones. Eagle catches a straggler. Actually the bomb that's a little further back, but he wasn't ready. So, all good for Guatemala, only losing the 1 player. They recover the AWP and everything. No harm, no foul. And money's starting to get out of control. Ecuador need to shut them down here as they, once again, are looking to pick up a key round.
Yeah, no, exactly. All right, 6-round buffer. Ecuador back into the investment. Let this one slip, and we're looking at that 8-1 again. Maybe the 9-1 as well, because money will be once again broken for Ecuador. Very similar start to what we saw in Mirage. And again, like I said, I feel like I've learned my lesson. Not to believe just yet. Need decent chunk of damage. Shelf control taken, but a fighting into his box. We'll get both, Alexo. That's beautiful.
Man advantage Ecuador now. Especially with this exchange that goes down towards middle. So, looking good for them. First time in a long time that they've had like an early quieting down sort of exchange. Couldn't make the 5v3 work a few rounds ago, but that felt a little non-stop. This one has paused slightly. So, we shall see. Ecuador, I think, this time around as well, going to have full respect for their opponents. Not give them any fights.
Bit of a move in towards mid. 45 seconds. Don't exactly have a hell of a lot of time here, but nice find from Spect. That's going to make this very difficult for Guatemala. 2v4. Yes, there's been damage dealt to the CT side with 30 seconds. In all fairness, Widow gives a fight there. Stage has the bomb on his back. But 20 seconds, I honestly probably think saving the AWP's the best play here. It looks like that's what he's going to do, I think, as well. He's not making a move.
Yeah, he's just chilling, man. Just clearing himself out a little bit to make sure. Yeah, I maybe prefer this if it is open, to be fair. No one after him, so he is indeed going to get that save. Take the AWP into the next. Still 7 rounds. Looks comfortable. They did have this drop off. We're again looking towards that. Ecuador going to try and continue closing this gap, but Guatemala have the potential for a few more to make it a one-sided affair.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely not to, can't count them out or anything of the sort just yet. Second on the board. If they can get up towards, a 4th at the bare minimum, that's not bad. A 5th would be absolutely wonderful. Makes it a real competitive game. Guatemala still got an absolute wealth of a lead. That's the main thing that we see out from them. Pop flashes towards A. They might want to go quick here. Stop by a Molotov. So that'll completely blunt off what was meant to be a quick attack. And it has given time for the rotate to come through for Ecuador.
They're still going for it, though. Guatemala, 5-on-5 action here in on the A-bomb site. Looking good. Not a single kill back for the CT end. Oh, my goodness. Completely rolled over. Gore to save, and that round is gone. Blink and you miss it, man. Crazy stuff. Guatemala up to 8 now in what felt like was a position of contention, but they have once again made it known that they are not messing around here on Ancient.
Yeah, not here to play. Guatemala up to an 8th is good for them. Now we get to see on the other side too. Once Guatemala hit 8, is that their cursed number where potentially Ecuador do find a little form at the end? Unfortunately, they're just not really have the funds to probably even warrant that idea too much, right? We're looking at Gore saving an M4. Yes, they got loss bonus, but it's not exactly flourishing on the other side either. Tough. Really, really tough spot. I mean, at the moment too, we look at this as an opportunity for Guatemala to take this series, which could be huge for them in the potential of the qualification and all the rest. It leaves, basically winner of this game, or at least if it's, if it's Guatemala who win this game, then they face off against Costa Rica tomorrow for that second spot, which would be pretty massive and all the rest. Still, not the easiest spot. 2 rounds for Ecuador. They've gone for a force coming through. It's M4s for the most part across the board and 1 FAMAS. Util relatively limited. Molotov comes a little late.
Yeah, potentially. Oh my goodness, they are melting though. The flashes, I think, making the Molotovs awkward or at least more effective for the CT side. Looking good here, down to just Stage and Rainmaker. Bomb has been spilled. Rainmaker standing strong. A couple for him to take though in at each angle. You know where the AWP is at now. Nade doesn't really do too much for him. Shot misses. Down he goes. And Ecuador back in with it. 8-4 would be really, really great for them. Guatemala, again, may well be kicking themselves if they let it close in such a fashion. But surely we're not going to have the same thing happen here on Ancient, you would assume. It would be mental.
Does really feel like they get this sort of mental block at the tail end of the halves, though, whether it's the half or the game. It does just feel like they have this block internally where can't seem to make things work. Oh my god, Mittis. He's lucky to walk away with basically no damage there. It really looked like he was about to take some.
Okay, we'll see here. Guatemala playing pretty far back. Nice and comfortable default for them. Ecuador not really wanting to contend all that much on this CT side. That's maybe one of the big differences here. It's just the fact that they have actually stepped it back on their CT side of Ancient. I was expecting more in-your-face action, but has not been the play thus far.
It is. Playing on the edge of the smoke, and he will get gifted one. And Exo was just about to turn around, so he had to confirm the kill rather than playing for that discipline. Still going to stick up close here. As the smoke fades as well. Oh, posted. Oh, what a shot from Rainmaker. Widow gets completely deleted. This might be the same situation, though, for Mitters, as he will fall. That's an AK now scooped up as well. We're still take, but the crack open of the B side is beautiful.
Solid stuff here for Guatemala. Should be able to take it over the line. Spect in a good spot, though. Catches Rainmaker. They've got to be careful now. Nade comes in, softens them up only a tiny little bit. Flash over the top. No peeks coming in. They will move together as one. And Guatemala find themselves that all-important 9th round. Just makes such a big difference from the 8-4, to be honest. If they find the pistol here now, they are really knocking on the door of the victory.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think 8-4 is always one of those where it feels workable. 9-3 is so difficult to come back from, especially considering if we see Guatemala get a pistol here, 10, probably 11 at that point, surely. And again, with the asterisks, because we saw what happened in Mirage, but surely that's enough to see it off in your favor. Well, we are live in towards the second half, and with Guatemala and the success they've had so far, is it going to be a sign of things to come, or an Ecuador try and bring things back in their favor? If they're claiming towards Cubby, not effectively. Julie's up close. 4-2 stage, looking for more as well. Will get traded.
Ooh, nice find from Picario. Might just bring them back into proceedings here. Bomb plant coming in for Ecuador. Couple flashes to work with, trying to get ahead of it. Not going to work out. Rainmaker happy for the fight. It is Widow here on these Julies that I look towards. But before I even get the words out, he is a goner. And Picario trying to do the best that he possibly can, but it is not enough. Double digits for Guatemala. And Ecuador unable to threaten them all that much here on Ancient thus far. Going to need a big, big turnaround.
Yeah, no. It's pretty simple. Where we're at too as well. You know, for Ecuador, it's good they get a bomb plant. It will mean a buy coming through, which is a small positive / silver lining and all the rest. But you lose this. It's not only Guatemala finding 11, it's them finding map and series point, and what potentially could be it is elimination point for Ecuador. It would mean no playoffs for them with their loss yesterday. So a tough one. It's forced by really does sort of feel like for all the marbles, in all honesty. Ecuador lose this, they could be in a lot of trouble. It's not a good start. Mitis for 2. The trade is immaculate from stage as well. And Guatemala now in a 2v4 situation. Ecuador with the massive man disadvantage. And they're sat behind the smoke. I don't know if they're going to win this.
Yeah, man, it's scary. But not looking likely. Smoke starts to go down, and Guatemalan B defense is kind of savvy to it. Nice from Anti to just play it safe. Not stick around and give them the fights. Discipline coming in, buying time for that rotation. Picario, here's them all coming, knows where they're at. Oh, and he's going to isolate the fight so well. This is again what we were talking about. Guatemala overstepping their bounds. Surely heard moving towards A by stage, but both players incredibly soft. Easily defeatable here. We'll see. Bomb plant coming in. Picario resets the 1v1.
He has no idea, though, is the issue about where stage is playing from. And this angle that he plays towards back box, it is generally a good angle to play from. If he went through temple, though, there's a world in which it makes life difficult. He's going to tap the bomb, so he's going to alert to him that he is close. They're playing on the boxes together. Yeah, stage is dead here. Surely. No. Picario doesn't peek. Stage going to tap again. He's looking over towards CT. He's got the complete wrong idea. Doesn't even remotely clear back box at all. And Picario going to see this one off. It was an absolute necessity of a gun round to come through for Ecuador. And it will keep them afloat. I think for Guatemala, you do have to force in a way because of double eco and the rest. But Ace 4 now looks like no. Generally speaking, We will be double eco in here. Yes, okay. So we do all pick up the pistols, which I think, you know, absolutely needed. Only really one player, like 1.9k. Yeah, bad one to lose, though, for Guatemala. Let's be honest. 2v4, then into a 1v3. Never should be being lost. And this is the issue that we had in towards Mirage in 101 different combinations over towards Guatemala. They had this big tendency to keep fighting like they're on the T side when all they have to do 9 times out of 10 is just shell up and hope that the fights get gifted towards them. Like that one, for example. Mitis doesn't really have to do too much. It just comes to his arms.
Indeed. Oh, 5-7, big damage. Nearly another for Mitis. Not quite able to get them over the line. There's some nice isolated kills, but rounds themselves, not going to happen. Timon needs a super clean frag here. That's decent, to be fair. Onto the AK. 1v2 on the cards, maybe. Maybe we'll give it a look. 10-4. But whether he fully dedicates to it is obviously another question. It does feel like actually he's going to draw back. He's going to take that AK. And of course, as we love talking about, the one-tap potential into the next.
All right. I mean, keeping it out of AK is not bad, I guess, for Guatemala, who are in a tough spot financially because they forced in here. Didn't go well. I mean, honestly, 3 kills is not terrible, but, you know, not a round win. So the force buy can't be seen as successful. Yeah, it's tough. Really tough. And AK kept alive is good. They can't really do a hell of a lot around. It will just be an eco around this force. So Ecuador probably get up towards a 6th, which isn't too shabby at all. And then they're starting to once again make a conversation out of this. This game getting closer than it probably should have been. Again, with where it was at the halfway point. But all it takes, that force buy that breaks the economy out towards Guatemala. And then now I've left them with not a lot. Expectations that Ecuador are going to make this a 4-round game.
A question of what this AK can do, really, isn't it? If they move into B, it could be a serious kind of hold, but the AK is on the other side of the map, so a bit of a curious kind of setup. But he's going to go digging in. I do like that idea, right? Getting some information. Trying to work his way in behind here as best he possibly can. I think certainly capable. It's a slow-moving round from Ecuador. They're very uncertain of what awaits them on the other side. And, well, where this AK's going, it's in a good spot. However, Widow, Spidey senses, certainly not letting him down there. The push-down ramp will commence. Guatemala, not a single frag found. Ecuador, bring it in. Nice and close now. Big round on the cards as the money, again, in places for Guatemala, not quite held together.
Yeah. Tough. Tough spot that we're in. Guatemala back into the bite. And a true one as well at that. We bar Timon, who has to pick up an MP9. I mean, to be fair, Andy's got also a FAMAS too. Not exactly a fully fledged one. But yeah, we are going to see now a really important round. Ecuador find this. They can bring this game within 2. Guatemala find it. They put the pressure back on to potentially be in for the chance of mapping the series. In for the potential of making towards playoffs at this rate as well.
Minute 25 left on the clock. Ecuador, a bit of utility available for them, of course. Maybe trying to fake things out ever so slightly. It looks like Gore has been sort of given the belt to draw some attention to that B bomb site. Pretty aggressive setup from Guatemala here, though. And they will keep it that way. They like where they're at. Mid presence comes in, but stage overextends. Misses to find Spec, but they now have to kind of check around a lot of different angles because they are that man down. They've lost the mid information, so 4 versus 3 therefore. And Ecuador in a bit of a winning position now.
Yeah, tough. Guatemala down to 3, but I mean, Also low. One. For a second, gonna get it. And the third was there for the taking, but he can't quite see it off. 2v2 with how low Ecuador are here now. Surely this is one that can't be converted. Yeah, not good. Anti gonna get one more. Looking for the double. Low HP on the AK, who actually makes the chance out of this. Bomb trying to go down. Phase the smoke hits him and he guarantees the kill, but he takes his sweet time. He gives him way too much respect, but thankfully he'll see it off nonetheless. Oh my. Oh my.
Definitely feel the pressure on this one, right? I think a lot of these mid-round, late-round moments are maybe indeed a bit too much respect being shown. You know, one of the differences that we have seen in the more professional teams, clear-cut favorites and whatnot. You know, your Argentina down below the border, and then we have Team USA, Team Canada here. Is I think just the fact that it feels very comfortable for them, very secure for them. Just, you know, not any other game, but certainly playing in a really simple sort of way, not putting too much pressure on it, not too much advancement. But we'll see, really, moving into the final stages of this one. Picario with a big double. Stage will attempt to hold the line, but unfortunately goes down quite quick. Gore with a big find there. Just going to be Rainmaker then in this 1 versus 3. That doesn't come cleanly enough for my money. It's going to be a real challenge for him. The Molotov makes his decision. He will move to save Ecuador, keeping the dream alive. Ooh,
Yeah.
Although, it's Rainmaker. He's confident for it, apparently. And he goes down for his troubles. No save. I thought he was out of there.
Yeah, maybe shouldn't have been so confident to give it a go, but again, Ecuador keeping this one afloat. The MP9 definitely should have got 2 there. I mean, it does so much damage, but you see this burst fire, and then I think as they sort of barrel in towards the site, he panics a little bit from Cubby, and he, you know, is very messily and quite labored holding our mouse 1, and the spray just doesn't end up pulling off. He does like 90 points of damage, but it's not enough for the kill. Yeah, Guatemala still got Ecuador. At least breathing down the neck a little bit. 4 rounds the difference now, and with a minimal buy coming towards this one, let's be real, we're expecting probably Ecuador to get up to an 8th. This is still a doable affair. Once again, reaffirming the ideas, Guatemala's CT side is a real inherent issue towards them, and it's still plaguing them even now. They can't seem to find this consistent success and all the rest that would usually be so important for them, and has given them so much leeway and luxury on their T sides. Attack pause taken. But now in this instance that we're at, a tough spot to say the least.
Yeah, for sure, man. Could be very, very troublesome, but we'll see. Oh, P250 of stage. We'll get checked. Does well for 1, though, to be honest. The bomb site a little bit vulnerable. However, Guatemala will rotate across quite quickly. Ecuador have got to give some respect here. Otherwise, indeed, it could get out of hand. That's exactly what they do. Just wait and see what the rest of the squad can find here.
Oh, nice shot from Picario. Good work. Go. For him, he's had his moments. He might be one leading the charge out here. Onto the site. Alexa are going to get caught by the Deagle. Widow picks up the bomb. Still trying to fight out as well. Molotov out towards long. Smoking towards short. There's Gore who leads them through in towards B. Last one misses. He isn't really going to do all too much in this one. A USPS hoping for a kill. We'll actually get him on the reload in all fairness, which isn't bad, but I don't think we're doing too much here. Gore going to see him off with the HE. Alrighty. 11-8. The unexpected 8th gets put on the board for Ecuador. Guatemala will come back in with a reinvestment. This is a big round, though. Again, this could be the one that if we see at least a little bit out from Ecuador. I mean, if Ecuador take this one, they could probably push all the way. Maybe we might even see Ecuador putting the pressure right back on Guatemala as they did in map number 1.
It's possible, man. It is definitely a possibility. So we'll see here. Ecuador going to have to dig a little deep to make this one work for sure. Guatemala, I think they've had plenty of experience now to be like, okay, we have to tighten up. We've got the big gun round. It's looking a little scary. You know, you just have to say ahead of this round, we need this one. Get your heads screwed on straight. Ecuador maybe going to be able to use that to their advantage. Bit of a late round donut push. But they have missed Gore. He could activate and get in behind, man. They really are not considering him super deeply. Seems like Timon's in a decent spot to see him, but not really much they can do about him in terms of the stopping power. We'll see now. Sight gonna fall pretty handily. One contact flash is enough for Ecuador. Stage the next one to go, and that's a 5 versus 2. It will be a save out, but no pressure on Ecuador. Heck of a burst there on to be.
All right, Guatemala once again falling apart. I mean, it's yeah, a tough spot they're in. For Ecuador now, you get up towards a 9th, flawlessly, no casualties, money not enough, I don't think, to even buy around these 2-10 rifles. That's if even both of them are saved. Widow, looking for the right idea, and he's gonna get the kill. Rainmaker, not a fight that he should be taking, and a one that he loses pretty badly. So again, we're starting to see the difference, and actually, Mitters doesn't even survive either, so nobody's surviving over towards Guatemala. Now Ecuador, again, are going to make a game out of this. They've got the 9th. They're probably going to get a 10th as well, so there isn't enough funds to work with for Guatemala. And Ecuador looking very good on this T side, and Guatemala once again looking, unfortunately, just very poor on their CT side. They cannot seem to make consistent success out of CT side rounds. They constantly just get pulled apart.
Nades going in towards mid here for Widow. Do too much around it. Ah, that's what he was waiting for, though. Decent timing. Solid peak. Keep those pistols dealt with. And I think that is going to be the case here. Only 3 remaining on the other side of proceedings. There is a little overwhelm at the top end of lane, in fact. But whether they're able to do anything with it is, of course, another question. Not going to happen. Taking a few guns away. Could have an effect towards the tail end here. I kind of doubt it a little bit. But any damage is certainly going to help, but they need the rounds, man. That's what they're after. They need the rounds.
Exactly. One round in, though, in this game. What a spot that we are in at the moment. Okay. Ecuador, you get this one. You actually might even be able for the chance of stealing this map away when you looked like you were head in the water. It'll come over. Big chunk of damage dealt towards Ecuador there, but they were going to take this top shelf control. At least for them. Not bad. The flash is pretty good as well. They wanted to fight it. We are. I don't know why we need to fight there, Guatemala. There really isn't a need. And this goes back to what I was saying earlier, where because these CT sides are quite messy and they don't have the setups to work with, they feel like the tendency for them is they have to get more aggressive than the T side. Sort of fight fire with fire. That's not the way to approach this.
Nice pickup from Gore. That feels like it might just have done it. We'll see, though. There's the 2 still here. Mitt is quickly traded out. Ecuador playing really, really good Counter-Strike right here. And Guatemala, again, yeah, just in their own heads about it, man. Barrel spotted. Pre-fire comes in. Alexo finishes it off. And this would be wild. If Guatemala drop it from here, it would be absolutely insane. Again, another Incredibly one-sided beginning for them.
Mm.
And it's all the way down to the wire. Even this is a little bit, you know, difficult one. It's like scary, very, very scary. But if they get it, it doesn't matter too much. If they end up losing from a scoreline like this, it is just insane, really.
Yeah. All right. This is tough, man. Really tough. And Ecuador going to start well. Tim are going to get caught. Another shot. I mean, if you're going to go for that peak, you've got to be doing it off the back of a bit of util. Going to lose out just in terms of firepower alone. Spotted on the corner of Donut. Stage still sticking around for the fight, but actually with that nade damage dealt, it might even work in his favor. And thankfully, Alexo just falls away. Doesn't want to stick around. That's smart. Sort of heads up Counter-Strike, knowing that the fact that he couldn't find it in the first couple of engagements is not worth continuing to try it.
Contact it in the cave. Yeah, gotta be careful, man, going around that corner. Ollie comes in a little deep. Not going to deal with anything just yet. He reloads as well, so they know that he's kind of on the way out of here, and I think going to get caught. It's a big kill. It's a big, big kill for Guatemala. Gives them the advantage. Rainmaker spins out for 2, and Alexo cannot swing around. 12-11. Guatemala, at the death of it, will find their momentum again here, Nao.
Yeah, exactly. At the very least, it's maybe a bit of survival for Guatemala on the CT side, as overtime is also a possibility as well. But for Ecuador, just when it felt like they had a chance and they were doing enough, they might have just gifted it over towards Guatemala too. Still a double fan match coming in towards this next round. Attack pause is going to be called before we get there. I think this is, at this point, nearly maybe all of the attack pauses used, which, again, a bit of a rarity. Yesterday's games, we were kind of just seeing them just play out. No one was really stopping anything. The momentum was just let, it's going to run riot in a sense. But, yeah, still, 12-11, all 24 in this third map. And what have we got for us as well for Guatemala? Can they see this off 13-11 as they did in towards Inferno? Or has this one got a little bit more life left in it?
Let's find out, man. This has been a close series for sure. I think kind of a little bit of what we expected. Alexo will open up with the wild spam. That is crazy. They're going to work on that and just burst in towards B. The rotations are in pretty good time. Stage going to have to go nuclear from here, though. Flashes over the top are pretty effective for him. Will it be enough? Mittis holds the line for the 2v2. And Rainmaker coming in late. Could be the difference maker. That was meant to be a slant smoke, wasn't it? And it might just have cost them on the Ecuador side. Bomb goes down. They're expecting maybe a bit of a lurk. Again, some of this pressure and just overthinking for Guatemala maybe getting the better of them. Mittis takes another tiny tag. They are not considering ramp at all. First one comes in. Second reveals himself, and Rainmaker will make it happen for Guatemala. They take the series 2-1. This time not going to be bested. Not going to let it slip away with how strong their position was again. They nearly lose it there, but they will indeed take it in the end.
Yeah, I mean, you know, for Guatemala, if they are going to look themselves in towards a playoff spot, which they're in contention with as well, absolutely when it comes down to it, they've got to clean up those CT sides. They are still very, very weak, I think, in the sense that they let way too much that T7 momentum run riot. They give them way too much control over the map and the speed at which each and every round is played, and it's definitely something they've got to clean up. You know, going 9-3 up and then still going the full distance in itself is a little bit damning. Commiserations to Ecuador, of course, that does mean elimination for them. It does mean that regardless, we will not be seeing them in towards that playoff stage with now 2 losses under their belt. But Guatemala are still in for contention. Still a possibility as well, as they will be playing against Costa Rica tomorrow to see who will be moving forward in that one. I think, of course, for Canada, they beat Costa Rica earlier today pretty handedly, but then they also beat Guatemala pretty handedly as well. So that direct head-to-head is basically going to decide who is going to book in that second playoff spot in Group B.
Yeah, for sure, man. For sure, there's a little bit in there, of course, on the Group B side of things with the way that the North American qualifier is going down here. Of course, there's, I feel, a decent chance to work your way through. It is going to be a bit scary. You've got the United States, you've got Canada in here as our stronger squads, but ultimately, you never know what might happen in the playoffs and when you've had a bit of time to warm up here. And there's some tape to work off of, right? I think that potentially some of these teams might be able to take it. But we saw some pretty broken rounds there, I think, from these two squads in particular. Definitely curious as to how things go down moving into tomorrow and whether they actually make it through to the playoffs. But even if that is to be the case, they're going to have to up their game just in tomorrow itself, to be honest, you know, with the way that... yeah, man, the games nearly completely fell apart for Guatemala. Absolutely just unpredictable squad. And again, mental game getting the better of them in a few rounds. But you see what happens, right? Super tense round. And they did lose a player to a very, very unlucky moment. Not really their fault. Just spam through, I think it was Cave, right? To kick the round off. Not much you can do about that. But they managed to stay strong and, you know, win out their fights, not get too giddy, not take these brazen swings, and just buy that time in the 3v2, the 2v2 for the flank, ultimately. Yeah, exactly. Scoreboard at the tail end as well. 19 over towards Macario, who did look on an individual note pretty good, and Widow all through that series was really, really solid. But yeah, I mean, Rainmaker, him as well, he had his real moments throughout this entire one. 22 in towards Ancients to keep them alive and keep them thriving, and of course, yeah, give them the map, the series too, as Guatemala keep their chances alive here in that one. But yeah, definitely a lot to clean up. I think it's safe to say this is probably a side who are a little bit more mixy. Probably don't have a lot of those protocols or strats down and all of the rest. And safe to say it's something that the slightly higher teams in terms of maybe our ratings would definitely punish them with. A United States, a Canada, arguably maybe a Colombia as well. I mean, they actually look pretty good at times here as United States. I feel like they would punish, right? Where maybe it's against teams like, you know, Ecuador, for example. I think they maybe get a little bit more leeway than expected. But at the end of that, that is, yeah, that's the day. I mean, it's a late one here. It is 4:45 a.m., dude. So for us in the EU, we are burning the midnight gaming. Oil is an understatement. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we were doing that a little while ago, to be honest. Mine's run out, mate. I don't know about you, but indeed, if that one went to the overtime, I think the mine might have been lost ever so slightly. But a great series, to be honest, right, in terms of the competitiveness and the back and forth and just that sort of storyline going throughout. We'll see. Guatemala feels like they're capable of a lot, but they're also their own worst enemy, you know? So we have to keep an eye on this team moving into the final day of the group stage at the very least. That'll be getting kicked off tomorrow in just under 24 hours, right, for the Group B side of things. And then a little bit earlier for the Group A side of things. So make sure that you are back here for a bit more of that Counter-Strike action. We'll be kicking off around the same sort of time for the EU times, right? If you are watching from North America, you know, English language and all that sort of stuff, we are doing it on the Central European times. It'll be 10 o'clock Central European, so you'll have to kind of do your conversions based on that. But from myself, Neo, and everybody in production here at IESF, that is going to be it. After a long old show, we need some sleep, and then we got more Counter-Strike tomorrow because the CS, of course, never does sleep. We'll see you there.